Howdy, y'all. The white balance is all out of kilter, um, but I'm gonna fix it really quick. I'm gonna tweak it. I'm gonna tweak it a little bit. How is everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. Can we get some? Okay, like maybe I'll leave it on automatic white balance for now, or can we just bring it? Nope, that's the wrong direction. Let's bring it down the other way. Oh, okay. So I have to do it this way. Well, oh well. Except that it's gonna change a bunch. That's annoying. Anyway, so I have a light, and it's a ring light, as you can see in my eyeball. And for some reason, it decided to just start acting all silly today, and I don't know why. Can we set a custom value? No, we can't even set a custom value. It'll take the white balance lower if I take it on automatic, but all right, cool, whatever. Yeah, so I have a light, and it has this little tiny controller with in the line, like, okay, there's a wire going from the light down into the power source, and there's like a power button, which at first I was like clicking the power button and the light was just like flash, and then it was off. I was like, okay. And then it also has a couple other buttons on there, like to adjust the brightness and to change the color temperature, because there's 3 different settings for the color temperature, and goodness knows why. I guess this is what happens when you buy your lights off of Amazon, but none of the buttons are working now. I did get it to turn on once, but none of the other buttons are working. So I guess I'm gonna have to replace my ring light this week, which is a little bit of a bummer. Just a little bit. And so yeah, the white balance is gonna be on automatic for this show. Oh well. Oh well, oh well. So let me get everything in position here. All right, hello. Wow, there's 17 viewers and 17 likes. Y'all are fucking on it today. Wow. Yes, hello, Viren. Oh my god, so many white names today. Hello, Junebug, Sunflower's Daisy, Canis Manducare, and Junebug again. And in the YouTube chat, we've got Jihariel and Reed. Hello. Damn Girl says, I just had a light break today too, but it's a USB light. Oh, this one's a USB light. Yeah. It's plugged into, like, I have a power brick that's got a bunch of different, you know, regular plugs and then some USB ones. I did switch it from one USB plug into the other, and I don't know if that's what helped me finally turn it on. Don't know. Yeah, I just found out the USB socket is broken. Ring lights are one of those things that had the market get flooded because they're popular for streamers and influencers. Oh yeah, for sure. I highly doubt that you're regularly getting the best quality thing when you get a ring light. So anyway, we're just gonna put the white balance on auto and be grateful that the light turned on. Because if the light turned off, I would be only lit from the top, which would not be fun. So just, you know, suck it up, order a new ring light, whatever. It would be different if this one had lasted even a year. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's not complain a whole bunch right at the top of the show. Alas. Junebug asks, what are the stories? So if y'all didn't know, I always try the light on another power brick. Yeah, I could plug it into the computer itself and see if that does it, because I have way more USB ports now because I changed my motherboard. But anyway, if y'all didn't know, if you are ever curious what all the stories are going to be on the show, I'm not great about putting them in the description, but if you're on the Discord, when I start the stream, well, actually, usually about an hour before I start the stream, I go, hey, this is the show, it's starting at this time, and this is kind of generally what we're talking about. So if you're ever like, oh, I wonder what the show is going to be about today, you can always check there. But I will tell you, I basically have like 4 things we could talk about today. 2 of them I'm definitely going to get to. So the first one is the title issue. A Detrans woman who had top surgery at age 28, now 32 years old. She's going to sue her doctors. She is in the process of suing her doctors for malpractice, basically, for giving her a mastectomy when she was age 28. So that's kind of our main story. One of our other main stories tonight is the Supreme Court has agreed to hear a case out of Tennessee regarding trans youth access to care and hormones and stuff, which is much sooner than I was expecting, but I knew that it was eventually going to get to the Supreme Court. So here we are. It's finally happening. So we're going to talk about it, link into it a bit, look at the merits of the specific Tennessee case and see what's up with that. And then, you know, if we have time, if we have energy, we will go ahead and talk also about a couple of things out of the UK. Like, apparently leaders of the Labour Party, which is like the equivalent of the Democratic Party, they want to meet with J.K. Rowling to get her opinion of, I don't know why. It's weird. But yeah, that's happening. And then simultaneously, Keir Starmer, who I think is like the prime minister right now, or like the leader of the Labour Party at the moment. I don't really keep up with what's going on in UK politics, but he's basically saying, oh, I don't think that we should be teaching this transgender ideology in schools. So it's like, oh, you want to bring back Section 28, but just for trans issues. Section 28 didn't allow the schools to talk about gay people or trans people in any capacity, at least in no capacity that actually includes talking about their sexual orientation or gender identity. And yeah, he wants to bring it back for trans people specifically. So that's one. We could kind of like loop that into one video. And the last thing is Violet posted in the stream recommendations channel a suggestion of an article talking about the origins of trans care, basically. And the you know, people who keep saying, oh, this is brand new, we've never done this before, and then comparing that to how long we've been doing certain kinds of cardiovascular care. So it's like, if you think gender affirming care is brand new and it's experimental, then you basically also think that heart transplants are experimental, because they've been around for like roughly the same amount of time, I think. I didn't go in depth reading the articles. I was just kind of getting an idea of what you all suggested. I always very much appreciate getting those suggestions. The reason we're talking about this Detrans woman suing her doctors is because of one YouTube comment. So thank you very much to that YouTube commenter. I do not remember your username, but thank you so much. Discussing how the Republicans bill themselves as the party of small government, yet commit terrible acts of government overreach. They've always done that, though. The thing is that they always lie about their intentions. They always say they're the party of small government. They have literally always been the party of government overreach. I have reasons to not be totally doomer about the Supreme Court. Meeting J.K. Rowling to get opinions about trans rights is literally just stupid, though. She's one person. She's one person who has made this her entire personality. There is nothing else going on. Like, you peep in there, you take a look behind the curtain, and all you can see is like virulent transphobia. She's got nothing else going on. It's like the lights are on, but nobody is home kind of thing. Like, the only person who is home is like your naked uncle screaming about women's rights and fucking basketball. Like, you know what I mean? It's so fucking dumb. But yeah, we'll save our commentary about the Supreme Court for later. I think it's kind of frankly, it's a toss-up as far as I'm concerned. Supreme Court and JKR, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fun one, Decoy Duck. Listen, we're going to do the same thing we usually do, which is take over the world. I just had a little pinky in the brain moment. What are we going to do tonight, brain? Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world. Who is she speaking to? Yeah, I think like leaders of the Labour Party. Yes, who should I meet to talk about the medical policies of this group of people? A doctor or those people? Oh, actually, a billionaire author who has absolutely no stake in this whatsoever or any expertise. Anyway, we're going to do the same thing we do usually, which is chill for a while, at least 1 hour, if not more like 2 hours. And then we'll talk about all the important shit and get it out of the way. Yeah, true, Lord Byron. Even if she weren't a bigot, why do you care what a children's book author has to say to influence, like, for the purposes of influencing policy, right? Like, why do we care what she has to say? What possible reason could we have for asking her opinion on anything? Okay. Byron, I just remembered to give you the moderator role in this chat as well. Are you thinking what I'm thinking, chat? We think so, Lux, but where are we going to get that many balloon animals at this time of day? So many balloon animals. Ugh. It would help if there wasn't, like, gunk in my throat, too. It's always great. I was trying my best. I had technical difficulties right before the show started. Just trying to turn on my light. And so I had to try to hork down my mac and cheese. So I'm going to take the last 2 bites of my mac and cheese. Happy 420 to everybody in the Central Time Zone. I just happened to look down and see what time it was. So yeah. I'm trying to eat. Me too. Sometimes I'm just like shoveling it in right before the show starts. So otherwise, we're going to just be a little bit silly. We're just going to be a little bit, you know, talking about whatever. I bought a light that projects northern lights on my ceiling. Ooh. I got something like that at some point. It's just a little wall plug-in thing. And it basically just shifts between like 2 different things. So it's not like, not the best, but it just kind of does. It's like a nightlight type thing. Yes, very crafty. We have some people saying, oh, we should support the Liberal Democrats in the UK because they are more pro-trans. Lib Dem leader Ed Davey claims a woman can quite clearly have a penis. Politicians suggest the debate around transgender issues has been settled when questioned by a caller during a phone-in on LBC. Love that. The Liberal Democrat leader insisted that discussions around single-sex spaces were not new and that more compassion toward trans people was needed. We love that. We love that. Absolutely. Yes, hello, YouTube chat. As usual, everybody, I would appreciate it if you hit the like button because that immediately helps the show. It tells YouTube that it should show the show to more people. So it's always immediately beneficial. I will also say, if you are interested, I will be on the Transatlantic Call-In Show again tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Time. I'm going to be on there with Josie again. And I'm assuming it's going to be a good show. Yeah, true. Not showing blanket hostility to members of your own populace, like an entire demographic, right? Imagine a groundbreaking concept. Yeah, true. Decoy Duck says, I know we don't really have much room to talk here in the States, but geez, the Brits sure must not have any real problems with how much time they spend focusing on trans people. You would think that there aren't mass hospitalizations. You would think that the economy is not massively struggling. You would think that, numerous people having multiple jobs and still not being able to afford their bills, right? You would think that there weren't any real problems. Takis gang. Yes. Always love the Takis gang. I love how, sometimes we bring people from Takis over here to the show. And a lot of the time, people from the show here jump over to Takis. Sometimes you all even call in the show, which is always very appreciated. I don't think there's enough interest for you all for me to have a call-in show. Alora, who is a moderator for Demon Mama, has offered multiple times to organize a call-in show for me, but I just feel like there isn't that much interest. We've tried to do call-in shows before, and it's like people just don't care that much. I mean, I read most of your comments in the chat anyway. Yeah, the UK is 99.9% perfect, and trans people are the last thing to figure out. It's the last problem before we get to our utopia. Our newtopia. Just trans people. I thought we weren't transphobic enough to be calling into the Takis. Well, so we don't only take spicy callers. We like to have probably at least one spicy call per stream, but it's not infrequent that we have like trans people calling in to talk about some trans specific thing. Like last week, someone called in to someone who is trans masculine but like dresses femininely, was calling in to talk about how trans misogyny affects other trans people and how like they were being harassed in a women's bathroom because they have a mustache as a person who is on testosterone, So, we have trans people call in who ask us questions and discuss issues with us. We have allies who call in and they say like, well, I heard this argument and I don't really know how to argue it. Or, my dad, we had a caller last week who was like, my dad is amenable to facts on basically every other issue. But when I try to bring up facts and statistics regarding trans people, he just says it's all fake. Right? So, we do have people who agree with us who call in. Obviously, it's not as spicy, but we get plenty of callers who agree with us and plenty who disagree. I've been meaning to call in for the past couple weeks, but it's during my work day. Oh, I know. I am kind of trying to convince them to push it into the evening because, I just think that we would get more viewers that way. But, that's just my humble opinion. I think if we even pushed it back to like 4 p.m., it would probably be better. Yeah, maybe a bigger call-in stream when the stream grows somewhat. We do okay. If we have a nice, a little banger title, depending on what the issue is, sometimes we can get to like 100 viewers. The more of you who like the stream, the more likely it is that we're going to get to 100 viewers. I'm going to try to see if they'll let me do the primary host spot tomorrow so that I can be the one who's like, hey, welcome to the Transatlantic Call-In Show. I've never been in this chat with someone who disagrees. Yeah, it happens very rarely. I entertain trolls who come in here. I will. I'll chat with a YouTube troll for a while. You've seen it before, I'm sure. Some of you who are like diehard, who are here every time. Given how bigoted British politicians are, you would think the Brits were an isolationist nation for the past 500 years and not a globally spanning genocidal colonial superpower. I'm saying, right? Like, you would think, but that's the thing though, is like, it's not as though they're globalist in a sense of cooperation and compassion. They're globalist in that sense of being a colonial superpower. Get Lux started on squirrels. Listen. It's funny that I'm about to start hunting and I don't even care about hunting squirrels. I'm like, I don't really care about hunting squirrels. Oh no, you're not wrong, Jonathan. The Transatlantic Call-In show is very early in the day for us because Katie Montgomery is on the show and she's in Britain. But also, Katie is not going to be on any of the shows anytime soon. She's like super checked out right now and super burned out. So I'm like, listen, so long as Katie's not on the show, we should do it later in the evening. Or do 2 different time slots? I don't know. Something. There's probably a solution somewhere there. Joanne! Squirrel and rabbit taste pretty much the same, FYI. I think that rabbits are a little bit easier to dress. Their skin comes off a little easier. And there's more meat on them. The rabbits. Plus, I don't really want to be shooting up into trees. It's much harder getting squirrels than rabbits. Yeah, we've had some spicy trolls. We had a spicy troll who sexually harassed me one time. He was like, I want to put a baby in you. And I was like, oh, this conversation's over now. Yes, Katie is burned out. She has not been on Twitter. She has not been on the Call-In show. She's just taking a break and talking about Pokemon cards. How'd I know what? How'd I know what? My grandma made squirrel spaghetti once. I don't know. I guess I don't know what squirrel tastes like. So I feel like squirrel chili would be better than squirrel spaghetti. They are distinct, even though they share a number of qualities. There are no squirrels at this farm. I am so jealous. Squirrels ate my tomato plant. I was very mad 2 years ago. Yes, coming back after a minute just to hear their skin comes off easier. Listen. It puts the lotion on its skin, okay? Yeah. I'm sure that the squirrel and rabbit taste experience is quite similar. Can I battle Katie in Pokemon? I mean, yeah, probably. No, Katie is still a part of the show. She's just taking a break. Squirrel is lean enough that it is not dissimilar to a chicken spaghetti. I have also never had a chicken spaghetti. Thought you were going to say that squirrels ate your pet or something, then you just said tomato. No. Yeah, they're not carnivorous as far as I know. They do, they straight up eat, like, they ate my entire tomato plant. I had just planted it. And it wasn't like, oh, there's tomatoes on it and they ate the tomatoes. No, they ate the plant. All of the green part. Just the whole thing. Frustrating. Vegetable gardens are a lot of sunk labor. Right. I think that I do understand why some people trend toward like a vertical garden and like greenhouse gardening. I just like stuck a plant outside my apartment, basically. My dog caught a squirrel last year on 4th of July. We cleaned it and threw it on the barbecue and shared it with her. 10 out of 10. It's not like I would waste it if I had a dead squirrel, but I'm not really out there going, ooh, let me hunt squirrel. Also, not really a thing that's very easy to bow hunt. This is my thing. Look, I have my bow. It's right there. You see my bow? It's right there. It's right there. And they like I just don't think it's going to be very easy to shoot squirrels with my bow. What a great way to lose all of my arrows. Like, let me shoot upward and then I have no idea where the arrow went. Squirrels also raid songbird nests and eat eggs. Mmm. Yeah, I am looking forward to eventually having enough space to have like a little greenhouse situation so that if I grow plants, they can be indoors. Yeah, like a BB gun or a 22, something like that. It's like with rabbits, you know, they can't climb trees. And they also, you can walk near rabbits and they're just like, whatever. If you start walking toward them, then sure, that would be a problem for them. They start to run away. But very recently, we woke up, you know, early in the morning before sunrise to go fishing. And there's like, there were a bunch of squirrels in that area. And or not, there was a bunch of rabbits. Sorry, of course there's a bunch of squirrels, but there were a bunch of rabbits and they were just chilling. I was like, dude, that is very much within bow range. I could easily shoot that rabbit right now. They don't run away unless you start walking toward them. According to Stardew Valley, a greenhouse lets you grow plants all year. Right, it sort of depends on where you live, huh? Has anyone tried groundhog? They seem beefy, also very destructive to gardens. I mean, I think that the thing is, too, about rabbits, not only do they not have to worry about constant human predation, but they procreate so much that I don't even know if it's possible for them to develop like a serious aversion. They generally their survival strategy is like stay still. Blend into the ground. And Prim Arcwen, listen, it's never gonna be completely primitive. It's like, check out my greenhouse with a aquaponics system and a bunch of LEDs powered by a solar panel. Yes, I agree. I hope that Katie feels better soon. She might be like the only regular host of the Transatlantic Call-In show that I have not already done a show with. I had a fence in my garden and the fence goes 1.5 feet underground to keep them from tunneling under. Oh, God. Yeah, they'll get up under there. And like rabbits are pests too. I complain a lot about squirrels, but rabbits for sure will eat stuff and dig stuff up, you know. Rude. Rude. There's people who keep leaving. There's like people who trickle in and then they leave because I'm talking about a bunch of shit that doesn't have anything to do with the title of the stream. Those of you who are interested in this conversation should subscribe to the second channel. I'm gonna eat this last bite of mac and cheese and then stop thinking about the food. Australia's been fucked over by rabbits stemming from like a few escaping after being shipped in. I've heard that. Yeah, that they've caused like a great deal of ecological damage there. Lux, what the hell are we talking about? Listen, Prosy Rosie. I am preparing for impending food shortages. Because here's the thing. The climate's going to get worse. And it's going to get worse. And it's going to get worse. Right? And some of the things that we talk about on this channel are like, oh, hey, bird flu killing a bunch of birds. So chicken's more expensive. And oh, bird flu infecting cows and killing cows. And also big heat waves killing cows. So beef is even more expensive, right? So I don't think that we're ever going to be at a point where there are no groceries in the grocery store, right? But I do think that we're going to trend toward a point where those groceries are even more expensive than they are now. And there will be periods of time where certain products are not available, you know? Like Ukraine exports a huge amount of the global supply of wheat. What's the name of the other channel? It's at One Oasis Left. If you type it into your search bar, you have to type One Oasis Left as though it's one word, or it will not show up. Ha ha ha. So, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that we talk about, is preparing. You know, we are going to prepare. We need to learn some skills so that we can supplement. Because, like, yeah, what are you going to do if beef is like $40 a pound? Because there is just not very much of it, right? Supply and demand, and also inflation, and also the price gouging. Yeah, I might raise rabbits. I feel like I'm more likely to hunt rabbits and keep chickens. You know what I mean? My stepdad's thought about deer hunting for a while, and my mom has been trying to convince him to finally get his license because meat costs. True. Yeah, for sure. I am not a person who is going to immediately start with deer, but I think that we will eventually do deer. I only have like a 20-pound bow right now, and you need like a minimum of like a 45-pound bow in order to kill a deer. So it's just, yeah. Small game, you can definitely supplement your diet with that. You don't want to eat only rabbit, obviously. Do people comment, I'm like, ooh, on my other channel, I'm talking about like, ooh, I'm gonna garden and I'm gonna hunt and all this. And I'm gonna hunt rabbit, and people are like, ooh, don't eat only rabbit, you'll get rabbit starvation. And I'm like, do you think that in all the time that I've been researching this, that I don't know that rabbit does not have enough fat on it to sustain you? Like, I know. I'm aware. Is deer even safe anymore with the wasting disease? You can observe the animal, and if the behavior is weird, then don't shoot it. My stepdad's dad is a lifelong hunter as well, so he can go with someone experienced, yeah. True, eventually you won't even need a gym. Full workouts, just hunting with the bow. And then you switch arms. Hello, kitty tick. Finally near my keyboard, been driving the last 40 minutes, so could not type. All good thoughts. Squirrel is easier to trap than shoot in my eyes. Agree. I think it can be asymptomatic though. Yeah. You observe the behavior, and I think, I'm really not sure with chronic wasting disease. I know with rabbit fever, tularemia, first off, you observe the behavior, and then while you're dressing it down, you look at the liver, because if the liver looks weird or if it's got white spots on it, then that rabbit has tularemia. But also, rabbits who get rabbit fever only live for like 8 to 14 days and then they die. So you're looking at a pretty limited window of time. I don't know as much about chronic wasting disease. We're going to be living in the Horizon Zero Dawn world. Is that the one with like the robot dinosaurs or something? We've got a heat wave in the UK at the moment. Girl, like I know it. Here in the US, I live in the Midwest, okay? It's been 90 degrees, almost 100 degrees every day for the past week or more. Literally this week, it was like, yeah, it's going to be like 100 or it's going to be like 99. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to lose it. I can't do anything. I need to weed my garden so bad and I can't because it's too fucking hot. Like, geez. Germany and Netherlands are having a heat wave as well. My peeps from there have been complaining nonstop. How are you in a hoodie if it's 100 degrees? Well, I pay for air conditioning. It's like 73, 74 degrees in my house, which is still fairly warm. Like sometimes it is pretty warm, but I'm sitting and I'm not very active, which helps. And I have to incentivize you. Listen, if you want to see me flex, look at all these white names in chat. Can we get some subs? Yeah, these people in Europe don't necessarily have AC. That's crazy. Right. Yeah, you can only really be productive outside early in the morning and late in the evening. In between, you take naps or do indoor work. It's so frustrating. Too damn hot. It really is. It too damn hot. Ben Jules Run, welcome to the stream. First time catching the show. We appreciate you. Anybody who's just now coming in, please consider hitting the like button. It's quick, it's clean, it's free. It immediately helps the show. And then if you're interested, we've got the website chat. This over here, you see this? This is not Twitch. This is my website, luxander.net/live. Consider coming on over here. Oh yeah, thanks, Andy. Just a bunch of money emojis. Yes, it's like Monopoly money. If only I could spend it. Oh, gosh. Yep. It's been a pretty good week so far. And so, tomorrow I'm going to be on the line. And on Friday, I'm getting my tattoo finished. I got the outline back in May, and I'm gonna get it, finished up this week. I got some numbing cream so that I don't tap out, because boy howdy, the last time I got this tattoo, it sucked so bad. I have a vasovagal response to certain pain inputs now. It's the worst. Let me take the hair down, huh? Does anybody have any exciting plans for the weekend? I've told you what my exciting plans are for the next several days. I'm working tomorrow and finishing my tattoo on Friday. Pretty hair. Pretty hair. I heard that tattoo ink was carcinogenic. Is that true? Not that I'm aware. There are certain companies produce higher quality inks than others, but if tattoo ink was carcinogenic, then I think there would be a pretty clear trend. There would be a pretty obvious, wow, the people who have the most tattoos have the most cancer, and like I don't think we see that. Gonna visit my sister in Michigan next week. Nice. Local pride, hell yes, Sandra. I did go to basically my first Pride celebration this year. Hello, gay fish. Yeah, I have never been to a Pride event, and I finally decided, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and go, and it was great. It wasn't like amazing, but it was low key. As far as I know, there weren't any protesters, or if there were, they just, you know, they just stayed separate. I don't know. I'm not aware of any protesters. So it was nice. This weekend I'm working on dead vehicles to sell them. Hell yeah. Good going. Yeah, going to Pride on Saturday. I do feel like Pride Month has been fairly uneventful this year. I have not heard any stories about Proud Boys showing up at Pride. Like, I haven't really seen any major news. Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all. If there's... I'm not aware of any domestic terrorist activity surrounding Pride so far this year. If tattoo ink were carcinogenic, wouldn't be skin cancer near the ink. Yeah, I mean, I would assume. Bolivia had the funniest failed coup attempt ever today. Really? Fill me in, what happened? I didn't hear about that. There's so much news all the time, every day. Yes, blissfully, there's been no foot fetish discourse this year. God bless Riley. She's a lol cow, for sure. That's her whole thing. She's just a lol cow. She's just the dumbest fucking trans woman I've ever spoken to. Just really dumb. Is the coup attempt over already? I'm guessing. Ooh, Bosch was watching the Bolivia coup attempt. Basically, a general got butthurt that he was fired, so he tried to stage a coup. Apparently, the troops he rounded up didn't even know they were trying to overthrow the president. Oh, good lord. Yes, it's done. Okay, that's pretty funny. I was, right before stream, watching... I was just like, oh, I'm gonna finish eating this mac and cheese and look at this. Nominal Naomi sat down with Vosh to have a little convo. This has something to do with Progressive Victory, I think. Live at Progressive Victory. Yeah, fuck Progressive Victory, though. But I'm happy to see more of Nominal Naomi and more of Vosh also. I don't see myself getting involved with Progressive Victory again. I was involved with them for a bit because I was trying to, like, yeah, let's support progressive candidates. Let's get people volunteering, not just say, you need to vote, 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 like forever until you run out of air. But yeah, like the fact that they were working so closely with Destiny was something that always bothered me. The fact that Brianna Wu used to work with them, and then they hired Riley Grace Rochong to be their, like, not social media, but their stream media coordinator. I was like, dude, fuck you idiots. Fuck you idiots. PV sucks, but at least they were canvassing for Jamal Bowman. Sad she lost anyway. Yeah. And I do think that Progressive Victory has contributed to good things, but yeah, I just don't see myself getting involved again. I can like all the people who are involved with them, and most of the people. I don't really care about Xander Hall that much anymore, but I like Vosh, and I like Nominal Naomi, and I like Riverboat Jack. RGR's contract with them. No, I know. I was, when I saw that Riley Grace Rochong is not working for them anymore, I was kind of thinking to myself, do I want to work with them again? But it's like, no, I don't want to work with an organization who is so dumbfuck stupid that they either didn't vet her, they didn't check to see, like, what is she most famous for online? She's a stream coordinator, and she is most famous for burning bridges and calling a child sex assault survivor a pedophile. Like, she's a puritanical dumbfuck, and I hate her. And it reflects very poorly on the organization that they were willing to hire her at all. So, no, I'm done. I'd rather spend money on actual socialist organizations than Progressive Victory. Yeah, no, and I never spent money on Progressive Victory at all. But, like, I would be more likely to work with the Democratic Socialists of America. Maybe I'll get involved with IRL politics when I go to Oregon. Because basically, I think what's going to happen is I'm about to move to a rural-ish area of Oregon. Like, I'm not moving to Portland, y'all. I'm going to move to, like, Salem or something, like a relatively small town. And there is a pretty heavy conservative presence there. So basically, I'm gonna bring my Democratic vote and my partner's Democratic vote to a probably conservative area. Apparently, DSA sees PV as a total joke. That makes sense to me. DSA is an actually, like, on the ground organizing, like, presence with a bunch of, like, chapters all over the place, whereas PV is, like, almost exclusively online. I've heard so many bad things about Vosh. I've been inoculated. Why the infight? Listen, I like Vosh. Every time I've disagreed with Vosh, he has ended up changing his mind to agreeing with me. Not because we spoke, but, like, every time I've been like, dude, Vosh, what the fuck is wrong with you? He's later been like, yeah, no, that was wrong. Yeah, that was dumb. And I'm like, good boy, you know? The horse situation was wacky. Vosh is well known for being a horsecock admirer. And we love that for him, okay? We love that for him. And he's always been super nice to me. I DM him and I ask him questions sometimes. I'm like, hey, what capture card do you use? And he's just always answered my questions, so I appreciate him. I was originally planning to move to, like, maybe near Seattle, like, if there is such a thing as a small town outside of Seattle, but I don't really think there is. I don't really think that there is such a thing as a small town outside Seattle, and I don't want to live anywhere near the two airports, so unfortunately, I'm still going to be a good several-hour drive away if I ever wanted to meet up with any of my streaming contemporaries who live in the Seattle area. Yeah, listen, I'm not agreeing with him on the whole, like, you keep your porn on your stream computer thing, okay? I'm not gonna say that that was a good call. There really are, though. See, my thing, too, is that more people are moving to Seattle, and so, like, considering that there are going to continue to be climate refugees and political refugees, like, Seattle is big, and it's so big that it touches Tacoma now, and it's gonna keep, like, spreading like this. Gotta be an hour or two out from Seattle proper, but they're there. Yeah. I just have, I don't know. We've talked about a couple of different things, and it just feels to me like Oregon is the better option. Jonathan, thank you so much for the $10 dono. Jonathan says, flex! I will if we get there, okay? That's a 10% of our total stream goal today. There we go. $10. 10 out of 100. Just curious, have you interacted with or heard of Dead Domain at all? I'm a frequent viewer of them. Yeah, I've talked to Dead Domain a tiny bit on Twitter. They seem really cool. I've never, like, streamed with Dead Domain or talked to them in any kind of, like, broader capacity, but we follow each other on Twitter. I saw that she's about to hit 90K. That's very exciting. Have you considered Southwest Washington right across the bridge from Portland? See, here's the other thing. I don't want to live anywhere near Portland. Oh, man. It's like the same problem that I have with Seattle is that it's just like more and more and more people are going to move there. And so it's also like, this has happened with Kansas City, which is where I'm from. Like Kansas City, you know, the city has like spread and spread and spread to where now there's like, okay, there's like Shawnee Mission and Roland Park and like all of these ostensibly smaller cities, but they're just part of the greater Kansas City area, and everything in between them is suburbanized or industrialized in some form or fashion. Like you cannot live anywhere near Kansas City and be like, okay, yeah, I have several acres of land that I could be somewhat remote from other people and have privacy and be able to like do my own thing and grow food or whatever, you know? Like it's all either urban, suburban, or industrialized. And so I think anywhere where you're getting near Seattle, Tacoma, or Portland, it's just going to keep bleeding out because the cities just get bigger and bigger. They don't get smaller. What's up, Max? Saying hello before going to bed. I hope that your gin sleep is a good sleep. Rural Oregon is very red, but also very tolerant. They mostly just hate woke scolds. They don't care if you want to be progressive, just leave them out of it. Right, yeah. That's pretty much like the impression that I've gotten is that there's every once in a while a dumb fuck, you know? Like every once in a while there's a Trumper who... I actually saw a picture recently on the Oregon subreddit of a truck that had, you know, the giant wheels that are like as big as a regular car on their own. And it's got all these Trump stickers and it's got like a Confederate flag on it. And yeah, just... I think even a bunch of conservatives in rural Oregon think that that guy is an idiot, so... From a super red town in Oregon, and I am well liked around the town and area, even while being a very odd one out. Right, yeah. That's kind of the impression that I get, so... And I do think, you know, Josie was telling me on the Transatlantic Call-In show last week, a caller got us talking about voting and like, oh, you know, Josie's really passionate about voting and Luxander is getting really fucking annoyed with the conversation. Oh, hey, thank you. Max, thank you for the $10 dono. Says, my dog has been declared cancer-free. Yes, that's awesome. I know that that was a big concern for a while. So I'm glad that your puppo has made it through the treatment. And you get several more years of puppy kisses and cuddles and love. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for the donation as well. But yeah, someone tried to get us to talk about voting, and one of the things that Josie said was that even if you do live in a red state, if you live in a rural area and you vote blue, that can tell the Democratic organizers like, oh, you know, we need to go campaign there in this particular county, because there are blue voters in this particular county, even though it's a red state. And like, okay, I kind of get that. So I see there being value in moving to, so Oregon is like basically a blue state. Is there any question? Has Oregon ever gone purple? Like, is it ever? The Democratic candidate for president has won in Oregon in every election since 1988. Okay, so it's not considered a purple state. It's, as far as the president goes, it's a blue state. So I do think that there is value in moving to a relatively rural area as a Democratic voter, because then that means that there isn't the same situation where everybody who's a Democrat lives in a big city and then almost every other county is rural and red, and that ends up like the rural red counties sort of overmatch the blue counties, you know? Oregon went for Reagan, but Reagan had a 49-state sweep that election. Holy shit. I didn't even know that. Yeah, I don't know what Vash's take on the election was, Reed. I would need it recapped to me. I don't watch a lot of political content. We do have a couple of Confederate flags and people with the Trump cars. Our road has a guy with a 15 to 20 pro-Trump flags along his cranberry farm, but even he isn't a problem, and his wife is very chill. She helped the local head shop get a bank account. Wow. Yeah, so even the ones who are there are like, okay, whatever. They're more interpersonally tolerant, it sounds like. Vash's take is basically voting blue regardless. So, okay, I agree with that to some extent, right? I think if you live in a state that you think is going to go blue, you should vote for Biden to assure that that happens. I think if you live in a purple state, you should vote for Biden to try to swing the purple state. If you live in a red state, I don't care what you do, because I think that a lot of us have experienced this thing where you're like, oh, what if we could turn Kansas purple? Ooh, I'm going to make sure I get out there and vote for Biden, even though I fucking hate that guy. And then it like just, there is no, it's like the dial, you know, it could be pointing blue and it could be pointing in the middle and it could be pointing red. It's just so firmly over here that you're like, Jesus Christ. It feels so pointless. I think Minnesota is the only state that never went for Reagan. Yeah, that's incredible. I had no idea that he, like, won that steeply. I feel like that would definitely call the election into question if a president won 49 out of 50 states. That's crazy. Gotta go change my brake pads. Yeah, I gotta replace all of my tires. Everything is so expensive. Oh, and to be clear, I do think it's important to vote down ballot. I think if you're going to vote, like, you should vote because you should vote for everything locally. I just, again, like, I think if you live in a red state, I don't care if you vote for Biden. But, like, yeah, you should still go and try to get Democratic senators and representatives and school board members who are not crazy, like right-wingers, you know what I mean? Yeah, Oklahoma is a supermajority red state. I vote blue in local stuff, but presidential election feels pointless. That's what I'm saying. Yes, Lenore Bunny, we did talk about the coup attempt going on in Bolivia. Apparently, it's actually over. Gayfesh was saying that this one general got disgruntled and got some of his soldiers to help him do stuff, but even they didn't know what they were actually doing. Like, he did not alert them to the fact that they were trying to overthrow the president of Bolivia. So, yay. Very silly stuff. 80% of voter participation is through mail-in ballots only. Yeah, I think I think that I have to request a mail-in ballot in Kansas. Although I can just go in. What I've done in the past is I just do it in person. I just go early, like not on the actual election day. It's interesting to have a bunch of Louisiana teacher friends and see them discussing their malicious compliance with the Ten Commandments law. Do tell. I haven't heard about this. Is it like the Ten Commandments are required? Washington is all mail-in. I think Oregon too. Wouldn't that be convenient if it was just automatic? So I posted my video like last week talking about how the Supreme Court of Kansas declared that there actually is no constitutional right to vote. Yeah. And so many people commented on that video and were like, well, so you don't agree that you should have an ID to vote? And I'm like, do you think that this is the only way to obstruct people's right to vote? Like, I just feel like I live in a completely different world from these people, because I've been hearing for years about indirect obstructions, like having polling places closed. So folks are like, yeah, so the nearest polling place is like an hour away from my house, and I don't have a car, and the public transit doesn't go that way. So yeah, like, although I do think that requiring a state ID in and of itself is also, at this point in history, an undue burden, because like it costs like $30, and for a lot of people $30 is like, I can't feed my kids this week, you know? Like $30 is my electricity is getting turned off. $30 is I'm going to be short on rent and get evicted. Not to mention, you know, there's old people and disabled people who don't drive and can't get to a physical polling place. Like, why would we not make mail-in ballots one of the default things? Like, why do you physically need the person to come in? You're sending each person like an individualized ballot anyway. It costs like $75 now because you will need a real ID at some point. Yeah. I think the real ID thing is so stupid too. Like, oh, you're basically going to require me to have a passport to be able to travel on an airplane from one state to another? Oh, fucking true, Gayfesh. That's what I've been saying too. If a government ID is required to vote, then they have to be free. Otherwise, it's a literal poll tax. Yeah. Like, they should be providing that ID. I'm not saying you have to provide me a driver's license, but if you require a state ID, you can't charge for it. It would be like requiring students to go to public school and then charging them an entrance fee every day. Like, are you kidding? Louisiana is currently requiring all schools that receive public funding to put up the Ten Commandments and have it visible to every student in the classroom. And it has to be in a readable size, supplied at the expense of the teachers, of course. Again, just so many dumb things. Guacamole says, there was a state recently that made a requirement saying that you must have an address and you can't use a P.O. box for your address, which ended up preventing a lot of Native American people on reservations from being able to vote because their reservation, the reservation, that's right, the word, the res didn't have official addresses. It's just, like, people are so concerned about voter fraud. And like, oh, what about all these, like, dead people voting? Folks who, you know, just used a dead person's vote. And I'm like, you genuinely think that that's more common than the disenfranchisement of eligible voters? It's so much more common, I would bet, for eligible voters to just be like, I can't afford the time off work, and I don't have a car to get to the polling place, and I don't have childcare. Like, if it were declared a national holiday, like, okay, cool. If you can't find childcare, are you just supposed to bring your 2-year-old and your newborn with you to go stand in line for 2 hours to vote? Like, it's all, yeah, it's also like how people are afraid of folks abusing disability benefits or food stamps. Like, what are you so worried about? Yeah, public school only charges you if you feel like eating. God. I feel like America is progressively becoming stupider and stupider. I don't think it's just us. I think it's like pretty much a global problem, TBH. Making up hypothetical things that don't happen to make new laws to restrict our rights? A conservative would never. It's honestly better to get a passport than real ID. Right, like if they're gonna do all this bullshit, you might as well get a passport and then be able to do international travel. Why do you think the world is becoming stupider? Because of COVID. Like, and I'm not lying or exaggerating. COVID causes brain damage. You're seeing more road rage incidents, more violent attacks on public transit, more developmental and behavioral issues with students in public schools. Like, genuinely, repeat COVID infections are making people stupid and angry, and like, I don't think that people are even internally self-aware of the fact that that's happening. Andy also adds, requiring a physical address is also a poll tax because you have to pay for that physical address if a P.O. box won't count. I mean, you have to pay for a P.O. box as well. I'd say this decline started pre-COVID. That's a possibility, but so I think that the polarization started before COVID, but I think that the actual neurological part is, there's a pretty clear through line, because yeah, I mean, you can see the behavioral data has changed, and people personally are like having memory problems and not being able to think, like they get the brain fog. But yeah, there are so many different behavioral aspects that you can look at. I recently did a breakdown for a friend of all things medieval peasants knew that Americans don't. Ooh, can you give me like a short list? Because that sounds fun. Yeah, the funding for public schools has been like getting worse over time. Lack of access to information, increased fear mongering, like those things have, predate COVID, obviously. Is the COVID thing your idea, or has there been a study? I don't know that there's been one cohesive study, but yeah, y'all, like, I get my information from experts who post directly on Twitter, mostly. Like, they're like, yeah, like, I don't know. Here, let me pull up a Google. COVID-related brain damage. First response, new evidence suggests long COVID could be a brain injury. Harvard Health, does COVID-19 damage the brain? We know now that unfortunately COVID can damage the brain in many ways. WebMD, COVID may cause ongoing brain injury. Nature, COVID's toll on the brain, new clues emerge. National Institutes of Health, small NIH study reveals how immune response triggered by COVID infection that damages the brain's blood-brain barrier. Mounting research from the conservation shows that COVID-19 leaves its mark on the brain. Headaches, seizures, seizure disorders, strokes, sleep problems. Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis, COVID-19 infections increase the risk of long-term brain injury and neurological conditions within the first year after infection. Mild COVID linked to brain damage. Research reveals COVID-19's lasting impact on the brain. Study finds no signs of ongoing infection, brain damage. This is from CIDRAP. I don't know what that is. Study finds no signs of ongoing infection, brain damage. Okay, so that's one. COVID-19 in the nervous system. Inflammation affects multiple areas within the brain, called acute disseminated encephalomyelitis. Research suggests COVID-19 affects brain age and IQ score. COVID-19 can affect the brain even long after an infection. Para-infectious brain injury in COVID-19 persists. Like, you know how to use Google, right? I ended up getting the P.O. box to change my address to, since you're legally required to update the address on ID every time you move. I think in Kansas, at least, you can go do it online, and you're supposed to, like, print out the form that they give you, but you don't have to, like, go get an ID every time you move. I write everything down now. I know my memory is crap. Yeah. Honestly, I myself have felt memory issues, and social anxiety and awkwardness has significantly increased since the pandemic. Right. And I mean, some of it is that there are... I just hadn't heard it before. That's insane to me. Like, we've known since, like, 3 years ago that COVID infects the brain and impacts the brain. It's amazing the concerted effort to suppress public awareness, like, for years. Like, the whole brain fog thing, that's brain damage, baby. You know, the whole I lost my sense of smell, that's not because COVID is in your nose, that's because the olfactory part of your brain has been damaged. I was told by my college math teacher that public schools don't really teach you, they make you memorize. That's fucking true. Reagan cut educational spending and closed mental hospitals. I don't think that the closing of mental hospitals is necessarily a bad thing, because I do think that mental hospitals represent a type of incarceration that does not require due process. Like, it's a way of putting people away and stripping them of their rights and functionally incarcerating them, but without having to actually prove that they've committed a crime of any sort. I guess my conservative dad got something right about the pandemic. He just blames the COVID brain damage stuff on the vaccines. Yeah, I just feel like a vaccine that is teaching your body how to recognize a virus is, like, so minor compared to the actual disease. Like, it's crazy. And it would be difficult to study one versus the other, because, I mean, at this point, fewer and fewer people are being vaccinated with each new round of boosters that come out each year. But, like, many people who've gotten COVID are also vaccinated, and pretty much everybody who is vaccinated has had COVID. So it's like, how can you isolate these factors? You would need to look at, like, the immediate aftermath, I guess. But it's just so much more likely that the disease that is using all of your body's cells to replicate itself, including your heart cells and your brain cells, would be the thing damaging you. Many problems with public schooling. Part of it is schools targeting test scores. Yeah, because that's the thing, is you're just trying to memorize stuff for the well, yeah, I mean, it's not like the thing about the nose is like, it's not like the cells inside your nose are being damaged by COVID. Like, the brain part of your brain processes the olfactory information and then it recovers over time. I haven't looked at any specific study on that, but it's like, it doesn't seem like it's happening in the nose. It's and it affects your taste as well. Like, yeah, the number one mental hospital in our country is the prison system, right? But yeah, the targeting test scores thing, the brain part of your brain. Yeah, I know. Listen, shut up. The Ritalin has worn off. The more you focus on test scores, the more you're like, I am gonna make these kids memorize stuff. This first article that I just found says, in COVID-19, prolonged olfactory dysfunction has been associated with severe cognitive consequences, which may be attributed to inflammation, altered neurogenesis of the olfactory system, and functional changes within the brain structures. Long COVID smell loss linked to changes in the brain. Mechanism revealed behind loss of smell with COVID-19. Olfactory dysfunction, inflammation, caused nerve damage, weakens odor signals to the brain. COVID-19 infections are tied to damage in the part of the brain associated with smell. Like, yeah, I mean, and these like, all these articles are from 2 years ago. So yeah, like, smell dysfunction is associated with brain dysfunction when it comes to COVID. Smell differences can happen from normal colds, which aren't linked to brain damage. Yeah, I mean, COVID-19 related long-term olfactory dysfunction and early damage to olfactory and limbic brain regions suggest a pattern of degeneration. That's from NIH. Long COVID smell loss linked to changes in the brain. Because I also don't think that smell differences from colds are typically like lasting for months and years the way that these COVID ones are. I remember going over a state-recommended physics test for evaluating students at the beginning and ending of the year and finding several errors in the test itself. Top-down organized education has gotten really messed up. Yeah, no kidding. Ugh. Because, yeah, it's like it makes sense if your nose is stuffed up, you're not going to be able to smell as well. We've got like several significant stories that we need to study and look over today. We've got this thing about the Detrans lady. I've got the actual lawsuit pulled up and an article that she seems to have written on Newsweek. Ba-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Yeah, next up, zombie apocalypse virus. Don't play around. Don't even joke about that. The problem with that is that, like, you know how there's funguses that, like, infect bugs and make them crawl to the top of the plants and then the birds eat them? It's like there's an evolutionary pressure right now where everything is getting warmer. And so the evolutionary pressure for funguses to be able to survive in hot locations like the inside of a human body. Cordyceps. Yeah, exactly. We still have not had very long to study the long-term effects of COVID because it's a novel virus. Like, listen, y'all, we did not know how bad HIV was until people started developing AIDS, which you don't develop until like 10 years of untreated HIV, you know? So, you know, like, we're dealing with a virus that has not even been around for 5 years. And one of the things that we look at with certain diseases is like, what is the 5-year survival rate of this disease, right? But part of the problem with that is that there are people with no family history of cardiovascular disease dropping dead from a heart attack after like maybe 2 years after a COVID infection, usually like I guess more like within 1 year, typically. And those sudden heart attacks of people in their 20s with no prior symptoms, those are not being recorded as COVID-related deaths. So it's going to be years before we have like a comprehensive idea of what the survivability of this disease is. And it takes a while for you to develop AIDS. So it may well be that even those of us who are very careful and have only caught it a couple times because we're trying to be careful, like, we might still end up with AIDS and it develops in 10 years. Like, we just don't know. We have no idea. Oh my God, that really hurt. My stupid Nexplanon implant is still healing and I just jammed it against my boob and it hurt. Ow. Motherfucker. Yeah. So we just have no idea what the long-term like consequences are going to be of this thing. Yeah, exactly. HIV took 5 more years to start showing AIDS than we have had with COVID. Yes, we have no idea what it's going to look like in 5 years. That's why I'm like impressing on everybody. It's really important to protect yourself. We have no fucking idea what this thing is going to look like later on. Anyway, I might need to refill my water soon. It was not tippy-top topped off before the stream started. Yes, like The Last of Us. I really should watch it. I have HBO right now. I made a purchase of HBO so that I could watch House of the Dragon. I have a friend that I'm watching House of the Dragon with, but she's got a bunch of shit going on right now, so we have not seen the second episode yet. It's killing me. Because it's not just the episode, it's also like all of the content after the episode that I go consume on YouTube. So it's like, this is the dumb shit that I'm using to not think about all the bad stuff that's happening. This is how I cope. The way that I cope with all the bad news is by watching fucking House of the Dragon. To be frank, I don't think if you've had it once in that 5 years, you'll have AIDS. IDK what new mutant variants will look like, but I'd be surprised if it went that far outside of a few cases. Yeah. So I've never tested, but I'm pretty sure that I caught it when it was first around in like January of 2020. I'm pretty sure that I caught the Delta wave because I was like, I felt kind of sick for a couple weeks and then I felt better and then I got sick again for another couple weeks. And that was like the Delta wave did that. And then I think that I caught Eris because I was suddenly spending a lot of time outside and then I was very sneezy and I assumed that it was like allergy related, but I think that it was Eris. So I think I've had it 3 times. But I think that, yeah, it's mostly like, I think you're more likely to develop AIDS if you are catching it 2 or 3 times a year. I think it's definitely like an accumulated um, like, compromising your CD4 levels or whatever. I wait till there's a show I want and then just get to binge it for 1 month. I want to watch it as it comes out every week. I can't get access to vaccines because I live with conservatives. Are you a minor? What does you living with conservatives have to do with anything? Yeah. I might have to ask my friend, like, hey, can I please just watch this show? Because you are clearly going through some stuff right now, and I love you very much, but this is my form of escapism. Also, HIV sticks around and is hard to get rid of, and in an infected individual, COVID in an individual does eventually work its way out unless they die. I mean, we are seeing some evidence that long COVID can be caused by viral persistence, where you're still finding active virus inside of people's bodies. But, yeah, but why do they need to know that you got a vaccine? Do you have insurance? You can just go to the pharmacy and get it done, and nobody has to know. But yes, I do agree, like, HIV has much more viral persistence in that way. It's not like an illness that you clear after a certain period of time. Like, once you have it, you just have it forever. It's like herpes. My cat is screaming, and he doesn't know that I will pick him up and force him to be in front of the camera for a minute. Hey, mister. Are you screaming? He's gonna learn eventually that if he comes over here while I'm talking constantly, he's gonna get picked up. He's been screaming all day. Screaming. My crochet hook mustache. Yes. He's a kitty. Whoa. Yeah. Herpes and chickenpox. True. You want to hear the kidder? At this point, well, okay. Why don't I get up and refill my water, and then while I'm in the process of doing that, I will pick him up and carry him over here and torture him by making him part of the show. Does that sound good? Okay. I'll refill my water and then I'll bring the cat. I don't know if I'll get him to scream on camera, because he usually doesn't, but he might go like, "Meow. Please put me down, please." Okay, and then we'll start talking about the serious topics. Not that what we have been talking about isn't serious, but I'm gonna be like, well, today we're doing a segment and we're covering this news. That's what we will do when I get back in about 2.5 minutes. Okay, don't go anywhere. I'll haunt your dreams. Okay, I'm back. Hello. Eee. Yeah? Are you sure? Mm-hmm. Oh, uh-huh. Oh, come here. Nope, come here. Come here. The claws. Here we go. Let me get under his feet. There we go. Hello, baby. Hello. Should we record another like and subscribe? Mitternock, should we record a new like and subscribe? Hi, I'm Luxander, and this is Mitternock. You should hit the like button and subscribe and check out the Patreon. And ooh, look at this hoodie I'm wearing. It's merch. Check it out. Links in the description. Thank you. Okay. Good boy. Now I have a new like and subscribe. We make a new one every couple of months, don't we, baby? Are you gonna complain? Are you gonna cry? Are you good? He's like, please let me go. No, but I don't want to. No, I don't want to. Are you gonna complain? Yeah? Mm-hmm. 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 He's so sad. Okay. Torture. You gotta, you gotta show him who's boss every once in a while. No cats were harmed in the making of that ad. He's fine. He's just a giant baby. Just a big baby. Yeah? You're good, buddy. I'm sorry. He's not that mad. Are you mad? No, he's not mad. He's coming over and letting me pet him. He's not mad. He's good. He's good, baby. Okay. We're fine, okay? Everything's fine. Yeah? He's even still talking to me. Yeah, you gotta grab a cat and make them take your affection every once in a while. He doesn't like to be picked up, but you know what? It's good for him. This is how you keep cats from having too much hubris. You gotta pick them up and manhandle them once in a while. You gotta pick them up and be like, I know that you don't want to be picked up. It doesn't matter. Do cats even care about hierarchy? I mean, they're not very good at it, to be true. Oh my god. The time of the day when the Ritalin wears off is when the tired happens. Man, it sucks. Oh man. It's the short-acting Ritalin, I swear. My cats are very kind and always come to me when I call them. Mitternacht is not necessarily a come when you call kind of guy, but that might just be because he can't quite hear very well. If you, if he can see you, and like you sit on the floor, or if you beckon him with your fingers, he usually will come over. Unless he's like really comfortable and he doesn't feel like it. We had a cat, who was my partner's cat, really, and sometimes he would be in my lap and like chill and purring and being petted and having a great time. And then if my partner across the room was like, hey buddy, the cat would like stop purring. He would like look up and look over, and he would get down out of my lap and go over to my partner and get in his lap. I was very much the spare human for Deegan the Mighty. But yeah, that wasn't Lucy, but it was Lucy's brother, Lucy's littermate. I started this channel. I mean, like, I've been posting on this channel for like 9 years or something, but I started the stream on this show after Deegan the Mighty passed away. So I never had the opportunity to show him to you. Actually, I do have a video. I have like a couple videos on the YouTube channel of Deegan the Mighty. Let me see if I can pull one up. I have a song stuck in my head. I fell in love with the girl at the rock show. Content. Let's see. Some old... Can I wish that there was a search function back here. There isn't. There is not a search function. Can we switch it by date? Let's see. Like, yeah, here's a Deegan the Mighty video. Where are my headphones? Come back. Come here, headphones. Stop it. Stop getting all twisted up. God.
Hey, Deegan.
My tiny fucking voice.
Go on. Go on. Hey. Go on. Go on. Go. Go on. Yes. Go on. Yes.
You can't really hear him super well because it's just a really old video with phone audio, but he was like, meh. He was like, I don't want to get down. He was such a good boy.
No problem. Wow, okay.
Such a sweet baby. And yes, he does look a lot like Lucifer. That's because they were brothers. Baby. I think at some point I did a video that was like, here's all 3 of my cats. At some point, I did that. Where is it? I know roughly when that was. Where are my cats? Oh yeah, here we go. So this video was like, hey, meet all of my cats. We started with Lucifer. That's Lucy. He was very grumpy. He did not enjoy being held like that. Like, not at all. He's a good boy, though. Oh, look at him. Oh, I love him so much. Oh, I miss him. Oh, no. And then this is Deegan the Mighty, who is obviously much bigger. Just a giant baby. Did I not make him... Oh, yeah. No, there he is. Oh my god, look at him. He's so huge. Oh, he's so good. And then there's Mitternacht, whom you have already seen. That camera was not very good at detecting the black cat. Yeah, so we are down to only 1 now. But yeah, such precious babies. Precious little sweet baby boys. Did you know that Lucy is in every one of my videos and every one of my streams? Because this is his box. That's my Lucy box. Lucifer is such a cool cat name. If you should get another cat, you should name it Lilith. Maybe. It depends on the cat, too, because, like, Lucifer was called Lucifer because of his face. Like, he just had a face that was disgruntled. I've only ever seen one other cat that looked like that. Like, let me try to... I want to show, like, Look at his face. Like, I don't know how to describe him. Like, he just had a really disgruntled gremlin face. He just looked like a gremlin. So his name was Lucifer because he just looked so mad. But, you know, truly his name was Lucy. Like, Lucifer was only a technicality. His name was Lucy. And he was very good. I love it when black cats don't get picked up great by cameras. Just void and eyes. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, what do you say we get to talking about something that actually matters today, huh? Maybe do some actual segments, maybe do some news. If you've not yet hit the like button, do it. It's fast and it's quick. And let's get to 69 likes today. We'll talk about, should we talk about the Supreme Court first or the Detrans lady first? No, I'm familiar with Lilith. Yeah, no, I'm familiar, but it's just that you can't just name a cat whatever. You have to, it has to like match what the cat has, you know, what its personality is like. So the Supreme Court is about to take up a there's like a shoot. There's a case out of Tennessee about trans kids should they have access to healthcare, right? So we're going to talk about like the anticipation of that is going to the Supreme Court. So that's one of our major stories today. And then the other major story is like, yeah, detransitioned woman is now suing her doctors for doing a surgery on her as an adult. Oh my goodness. Why? Girl at the Rock Show stuck in my head. I'm not sure that I've ever even intentionally listened to that song. It's a Blink-182 song, right? I fell in love with the girl at the rock show. She said what? And I told her that I didn't know. No opinions? Do y'all have no opinions on which story we start with? Because I'm ready. I really would like to post another video on my second channel. But the video that I'm planning to post on my second channel is the flippin', like a video of me weeding my garden. And I'm just gonna have to try to do that early in the morning tomorrow. 42 viewers. None of whom have an opinion about which story we cover first. I guess let's do the Supreme Court one. Somebody posted many links in the StreamRex channel discussing the Supreme Court issue. So let's open some of those up. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Too many thunkings today. I know. No opinions, just listening while I study. True. Okay, Aaron in the morning. This J.K. Rowling thing is insane. Okay. We will start with the Supreme Court. I'm listening while I design retirement home for work. Ooh, okay. Okay, do we have any info on the ban, the Tennessee ban, actually? Reuters. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, but I don't care. I did consider disabling my ad blocker, and now I am done considering it. Okay, well, I'll just close Reuters then. Don't need you. Oh, the LA Times, also behind a paywall. Okay. Fascinating. Okay. Oh, this day has been long coming, and I can't say I'm excited. I knew that this was going to happen. I've been predicting it's going to happen for a long time. We've been seeing a lot of restrictions on trans healthcare, in particular, restrictions on trans youth healthcare. And so what typically happens is like a ban is introduced in a conservative area of the country, a conservative state, typically a red state. And then there are challenges where people take to the courts and they say, hey, no, this is restricting my rights. This is restricting the rights of my children. This is restricting my rights as a parent to make educated health decisions, medical decisions for my child. And it's been kind of going like, it depends on where you live, really. In some places, the courts are going, yeah, well, whatever. You don't have the right to seek gender affirming care. And then there are other places where it's like, no, this is a 14th Amendment right issue. You can't give cisgender kids this medication if they start puberty kind of early. But you can't, like, and then at the same time not give them to trans kids, because the 14th Amendment guarantees equal protection under the law. It's one of the many things that's in the 14th Amendment. But, you know, there have been times where we assume that the 14th Amendment is going to be upheld, and then something dumb happens. Like, I worry a bit about the Supreme Court taking this issue, because you would think, okay, 14th Amendment should cover things like, oh, the right to abortion. You know, you can't limit certain people's right to make medical decisions for their body because of who they are, because they're women, right? But then they reversed it with Dobbs. They overturned Roe v. Wade. They found that, oh, well, whatever. 14th Amendment doesn't actually protect your right to get an abortion, and la 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 la, like, it just doesn't matter because it's not deeply rooted in our nation's history. Like, one of the goofiest things I've ever heard. But here we are now, finally. Sometime in the next 6 months, probably, the Supreme Court is going to hear a case regarding gender affirming care for trans children. Let's start with this article from CNN. The Supreme Court on Monday agreed to hear the Biden administration's challenge to a trans care ban in Tennessee, delving into the complicated and politically fraught issue of gender affirming care in a substantive way for the first time. There was a case in, I think, either Utah or Idaho where the Supreme Court basically said you cannot have a statewide injunction while this case is being heard in the courts. Or, yeah, like, you know, the two trans youth who were challenging the law got to keep seeking healthcare, but every trans youth is blocked from receiving this healthcare in that state until this finishes going through the courts. So that's what they mean by substantive. This is going to be the first time they're really tackling the issue head on. Excuse me. The state law enacted last year bans hormone therapy and puberty blockers for minors and imposes civil penalties for doctors who violate the prohibitions, which means like the doctors can be sued for providing this care. It's a distinction because it's not a criminal offense. It's not like the doctors will go to jail for it. Nearly half of the U.S. states have enacted bans on trans care for minors, according to the Human Rights Campaign. The case will likely be heard this fall. Speaking of fall, I just threw my chapstick on the floor. Chapstick. Steve Vladek, who is a CNN Supreme Court analyst and professor at UT School of Law, says the Supreme Court was always going to have to resolve how state bans on gender-affirming medical care can be reconciled with its approach to sex-based discrimination. Today's grant sets up this issue as one of the early blockbusters for the court's upcoming term. So this term is going to go from it's going to start in October and end in June next year. So basically as early as October, this case is going to be going before the Supreme Court. Yeah, oral arguments and a ruling are expected during the court's next term. And right now there is a 6-3 conservative majority. I'm just going to flip-flop between these two articles, apparently. There were laws in Kentucky and Tennessee which were challenged by the Biden administration, along with families of trans minors. The Supreme Court only agreed to hear the challenge filed by the Biden administration in Tennessee. In September, the 6th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Cincinnati reversed a district court ruling that blocked the gender-affirming care ban from being enforced. In other words, the appeals court allowed the ban to take effect. This is, yeah, like I said, we've been expecting this to happen for months, that the state Supreme Court says one thing, and then the appeals court, which covers several different states, there's several different appeals courts that each cover a group of states. And then once the appeals court gives a decision, then, one side or the other is going to appeal up. We've always known that that's going to be the case. Either the side that wants to restrict care is going to be shut down, and then they're going to appeal to the Supreme Court, or the side that is supporting trans youth having access to this care is going to get shut down and then appeal up to the Supreme Court. Before, her name is Amy Coney Barrett, right? Before Barrett was on the court, there was a case where Kavanaugh wrote the majority opinion, where the majority ruled that anti-trans discrimination amounted to sex-based discrimination. So while this should be an obvious duh with these bans being unconstitutional, I have some optimism that they won't just give the blanket conservative answer. Right. And I do agree, that is something that's worth pointing out. It was, I think it was an employment case, right? Where two gay men and one trans woman, or the other way around, 3 gender identity or sexual orientation related issues, they all were kind of pushed together and brought before the court. And they determined that, yeah, if you were to discriminate against a man who's married to a man, but you would not discriminate against a woman who is married to a man, then you are doing a sex-based discrimination by saying, men are not allowed to do this thing that women are allowed to do, right? And then a similar deal for the trans person. If you were to say that a cisgender woman is allowed to wear a dress at work, but a transgender woman is not allowed to wear a dress at work, even if you were to reduce it down to she's a man, whatever, if you were to say, yeah, that women are allowed to wear dresses to work, but men are not allowed to wear dresses to work, and that's a legal standing, then that's obviously sex discrimination, because you're saying it's okay for certain people to do this, but not for others, based on who and what they are physically. So I think that, yeah, that's one area where we might have an in that, like, it just purely is sex discrimination, that sex is a class that includes gender identity and sexual orientation, which has been the case in many court cases up until this point. And I think that Biden's administration itself has, like, officially declared that sex discrimination includes those other categories as well. And then there's the 14th Amendment concept of equal protection under the law. Can you treat cisgender people like this and then treat transgender people like that under the law? Should not be legal, right? So I would say it's not entirely hopeless, but I am not enthusiastic. This has been like, every time we have good news on this channel where trans people win in the courts, like there was recently in Florida, that the Supreme Court in Florida, I think, decreed that preventing adults and minors from accessing this care is unconstitutional, then, like, it's good news. But I always, at the end of those articles, at the end of those news segments, I'm like, well, it's good news for now. It's good news until this gets appealed. Because then again, yeah, it's going to go through the appeals court, and then we'll talk about it again. And then it's going to go to the Supreme Court, and this is the ultimate judgment. Like, this is us hitting, like, the ultimate judgment on whether trans people have the right to medical care, and in particular trans children in this case. I don't think that this is necessarily going to have ramifications for adults. I think that this is in particular addressing the children, but let me see. So Tennessee's, I'm almost certain that this will have ramifications for adults, even though this doesn't particularly touch on the adults thing. But if it's going to become a precedent, either way, they are hearing the case. It will become a precedent, and they will nationally be saying whether yes or no it is acceptable to limit this right, limit this access. I mean, this could be great news, right? I'm a cynic. I'm cynical at this point about the Supreme Court. It could be the case that the Supreme Court declares, no, you are not legally allowed. It is unconstitutional to restrict the rights of trans children to access medical care, or that it's unconstitutional in some way to restrict parents' rights to make decisions for their children medically. You know, it could well be the case that with this decision, all trans youth care bans across this country will be basically like, well, it's unconstitutional. You cannot enforce this law. There will be no lower court decision that can supersede the Supreme Court. So if Supreme Court in this case takes this case from Tennessee and goes, listen, this is not allowed, you can't do it, then in other states where this is going through the court systems, the courts are going to have to go, hey, look, the Supreme Court just said you're not allowed to do this. It's not acceptable for you to do this. So it's just going to, like, it could de facto cancel all youth care bans, which would be incredible. I don't really feel confident that that is going to occur. And maybe they will come down on, like, it depends on where you live. I mean, I don't really see how. I think it's going to go either way. This is my opinion. It's going to go either, yes, states have the right to restrict this access, which will mean that we are going to live in an increasingly split country. Like trans people in red states live in a different country essentially than trans people in blue states. Like you do not have rights depending on what your zip code is, right? Or they're going to, well, I mean, I guess they could say like that it's unconstitutional to allow this, I suppose. So those are like the three options are they are going to say, no, you are not allowed to do this point blank period. Nobody is allowed to restrict this access. Or we're going to leave it up to the states. Certain states can do whatever, just like they did with abortion. Or they could say there is no right to do this. And basically we're going to say like even the states that have put this in like are going to be overruled. I don't know how that last argument would pan out exactly, and I think that's like the least likely outcome for them to say like no state has the right to allow this effectively. Watch them blue ball us and be like, not this one, but no precedent. Yeah. It's just so unclear. And that's like really frustrating to be in this situation where our rights are hanging in the balance and it's just like it could go either way. I have no idea. It's like the presidential election. Like I have no idea. It could literally go either way. And I could not possibly even begin to predict which way it's going to go. Let me see if there's anything else in here. I'm reading. Okay, so the Supreme Court is not going to weigh in this time on the particular issue of whether this law violates the right of parents to make healthcare decisions for their children. I think that this is going to primarily go off of the 14th Amendment. Okay, let me see this. Oh, nope. I guess it's important to note, like while we're on the subject, that polls in this country are finding that a strong majority oppose gender-affirming care bans for trans minors. So this is another one of those issues that it's not popular amongst voters. Now, it also so happens that a slim majority in this poll think that transitioning is morally wrong, but it seems even people who think it's morally wrong think that the government is overreaching when they get involved with this, like when they try to dictate who is allowed to get this stuff. But like, yeah, according to polls, even amongst Republicans, a majority think that you shouldn't be banning this care. Like, well, it sort of depends on where you live, right? In this particular poll, 53% of Republicans favor bans on gender-affirming care for minors. I saw a poll recently in South Carolina where about 50-odd% of Republicans were against a ban on gender-affirming care for minors. But yeah, like even Republicans are not overwhelmingly supporting this level of government overreach. The thing that makes it unclear is that this court has pretty low levels of public credibility because they are willing to pull BS out of the air to justify their rulings. Truly, at least a principled conservative court you could have a handle on. This group is wild. If the government can force you to not let your kids be trans, then the government can force you to trans your kids, but who cares about principles? Who the hell knows what is going to happen here? Okay, I don't think there's anything in the actual court document that's worth looking at. Let's see. Ooh. Yawn. Okay, yeah, I will say that one thing that's worth adding from Aaron in the Morn is that the announcement that the court will hear the case came on the second anniversary of the Dobbs decision. Yeah, remember how it was 2 years ago that many of us lost our actual right to get abortions? Wow. One component of that decision was the Glucksberg test, which claimed that equal protection rights must be, quote, deeply rooted in this nation's history and traditions. Notably, many things commonly found to be unconstitutional and atrocious, such as segregation and anti-miscegenation laws, are, quote, deeply rooted in American history and traditions. In this Sixth Circuit Court decision from Tennessee, the majority of the justices similarly used the Glucksberg test to deny trans youth in that state equal protection. Yeah, so this case does invoke the deeply rooted in our nation's history thing. So, yup. Who knows what's gonna happen? But we'll be covering it, I'm sure. Whichever way it goes, we're gonna cover it. If things go badly, if things go well, if things don't particularly pan out, like, in a, like, I don't know that there's any way that this is gonna go down that doesn't have, like, rippling ramifications for trans people across the country. Right? Imagine having to learn this rule in civics classes. The Glucksberg test, they just made it up, is a brand new thing that has nothing to do with anything. It's not a constitution thing, like the idea that something must be deeply rooted in our nation's history, that it has nothing, it's not in the Constitution, it has nothing to do with anything. The court is supposed to be ruling pretty much exclusively on what the Constitution says. That's the point of the Supreme Court, is to say, yo, does this law follow the Bill of Rights and the Constitution? Nope, turns out they can just make things up. But, yep. That's all for today. We will continue covering this as more developments occur. Happy Pride! Right, yeah, slavery, also famously in the Constitution and deeply rooted in our nation's history. Okay. This is... there's so many links. It's gonna go in my notes, but there's just too many links, so I'm just gonna go for a general, like... What even is today? The 20... What is today? 25? No, it's like 26? 26. Okay. Supreme Court Lamau. That's how that's going in my notes today. Yeah, it must be deeply rooted in the nation's history, and by that they mean the history the judge is immediately familiar with and not the actual history. Welcome in, Eric. Hello. Oh my god, my voice is getting so tired already. We're very close to 69 likes. Ooh, baby. Hail hydrate. I love my lemon water. I'm so spoiled. Next. Ooh, hey, we just got to 69 likes. That's sexy. Aren't you all so wonderful? Do I need to reduce down the donation goal to $69? Are y'all more likely to donate? If I'm like, hey, 69. I added this earlier, didn't I? Yes, I added that to the donation goal. I'm just resting my voice for a minute before we get into the title segment, the Detrans woman suing her doctors segment. My voice sounds like a lawnmower today. I feel you. Yeah. It probably doesn't help that I wolfed down a bunch of mac and cheese right before the show started. Like an entire container of mac and cheese. Craving the carbs. I crave the carbs. Carb craving. Because the thing that bothers me too about the Dobbs thing and the deeply rooted in our nation's history nonsense is that abortion is very deeply rooted in our nation's history. I read an article about how, like, in early colonial America, like right before the Revolutionary War, or like as the beginning of the Revolutionary War, people used to describe America as an abortion from the UK or like from Britain, and they meant it as a good thing. They meant it as like abortions were associated with freedom and liberty and independence, and like, so it is quite literally deeply, deeply, deeply rooted in this nation's history that like you have abortion and like you know have access to it and it's a good thing. I lack a wrench with sufficient leverage to remove one of my car's tires. What the fuck, who tightens lug nuts that much? Get your impact drill out. You got an impact drill? Happy 420 Pacific time. Yeah, for sure, guacamole. I'm gonna just sit back in my chair for a minute because I'm a little bit sleepy, but we are gonna talk about we're gonna talk about stuff. It's just gonna happen in a minute. We're just gonna do it in a minute. I had weird, upsetting dreams again last night. You know when that happens? And the thing is that the dreams were so realistic to, like my house was exactly the way that my house is, and the people who I was having conflict with, it's exactly the kind of conflicts that I do actually have when I'm awake. It's so fucking shitty. I hate it so much. The most recent justices said they would not break with precedent and then immediately did. Yeah, we love Amy Coney Barrett. Isn't she the best? No impact drill. No. Oh, that's a bummer. I genuinely do have like an extra impact drill. I would give it to you if you lived closer. Thank you, Derek. Hey, that's really sweet. I'm gonna stay over here because I'm tired. But thank you, Derek. My first ever super chat on YouTube ever. Longtime subscriber. I appreciate your content and your perspective. Thank you. What a well-spent first super chat. Yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That is much appreciated. The only thing that sucks about super chats is that YouTube takes like 30% of your money. So that's a little bit of a bummer. But direct donations through the website, I get pretty much all of it except for the payment processing fees, which is a lot less than 30%. But listen, I still very much appreciate the super chats. Never gonna turn my nose up at snooper chats. You can tell. You can tell it's late in the day for me. I might also be about to become like a 6 a.m. person. Like, I want to go to the gym in the morning. I want to get shit done in the morning, like before.
Oh, yeah.
like before it gets hot outside. But and then if I wake up at 6, then it's much easier to go fishing before it gets hot outside and things like that too. Yeah, I remember that, Viren. These recent Supreme Court appointees were pretty point blank asked about Roe and gave very wishy-washy non-answers that implied a yes, much like a politician who knows that a no would be unpopular. Andy's Mints, you have a question you need to ask? Too bad. No, it's fine. Yeah, no worries, Derek. I super appreciate everybody's donations. It helps the channel regardless. But yeah, like, YouTube takes 30 to 40% of it. It's crazy. Ooh, this is an excellent question. Thank you so much for asking, Andy's Mints. Andy's wants to know, is it better to get bigger weights if you want to build muscle or just do more repetitions with the current weights? If you do more repetitions with the current weights, then you will become lean and you will have stamina. But if you want to get stronger and build muscle, then yes, you need to increase the weight. So hopefully that helps. I don't get why they bothered to be coy. We all knew they were doing it and they did it and there wasn't anything we were going to do to stop them. Yeah, they have to pretend to be nonpartisan because they're supposed to be nonpartisan. But yeah, it's not like they were fooling anybody. The conservatives knew that they were just doing doublespeak, and we knew that they were just doing doublespeak. Yeah, you can definitely still do the smaller ones. I think that it's good to change up what you're doing every like 6 to 8 weeks when it comes to working out, you know? Yeah, it seems pretty obvious to anybody who's not like a complete fucking idiot that whatever the party of the person who appointed the justice, that justice is going to vote completely along party lines, pretty much. If you're just coming in, I'm way down here because I'm just tired and my back hurts a little bit, but I'm about to start talking about the Detrans woman suing her doctors, so stick around and hit the like button, okay? Love you. I want to do leg weights, but I don't want to buy a whole gym about it. Yeah, fair enough. One thing that I do is I'll get like a kettlebell and I'll hold it near my chest and then I'll do squats, which is, you know, it's pretty lightweight as far as squats go, but at least that way, you know, you don't have to buy like an entire bar. You look tired? Yeah, that's because I am tired. It might just be like, yeah, the carb load that I did right before the stream started. That I'm so sleepy. I hope I sleep good tonight. I'm doing resistance bands. Yes, the ball with the handle. Yes, that's a kettlebell. Yep. I've never done resistance bands. I don't really understand how they work, if I'm being completely honest. It's like, do they have a poundage? Do they have like a pounds? So if you are like, let's say you are like standing on the resistance band and then you're grabbing it with your hands and you're pulling up, so you're doing like upward row, is that like certain pounds on the resistance band? I have no idea how it works. Okay, I'll get up now. God. I'm gonna do sleep stream someday. Not literally sleep, but like laying down stream. Yeah, resistance bands have an associated weight corresponding to a certain amount of stretch. Okay, cool. Oh, my pants are falling down. Okay. If you're just coming in, oh my god, thanks, hit the like button. We're about to start talking about the title issue that you clicked in for. Whoa. Okay. My respect for detransitioners dwindles by the day, truly. Generally speaking, I think that folks who are detrans, like, I feel some amount of sympathy for them because I know what gender dysphoria feels like. And if you get a procedure done that gives you gender dysphoria, then yeah, I completely understand the fact that you feel dysphoria now. You know, I feel for you. And the journey of trying to go through and figure out who you are and truly self-actualize. Normally, I have a lot of respect for that process. The thing is that a lot of detrans people weaponize their regret in a way that then they then are trying to reduce trans people's access to this care. They're trying to introduce more gatekeeping, and that doesn't sit well with me. That's the problem that I have. For any of you who are going to come up in the comments, I want you to understand, detransitioned people who can speak about their own regret and don't make it about going after trans affirming care and trans affirming doctors, those people are fine. I feel a lot of sympathy for those people. I consider them to be sort of cousins to the trans community, right? My problem is with people who detransition and attack trans rights. And I also think, like, it's just good to clarify up the top here. If you are temporarily not on your medicine, or you are non-binary and you sometimes want certain kinds of care, but then later you decide you don't want that particular kind of care, but you still identify as non-binary, I don't really consider that detransition. Like, for myself as a non-binary person, sometimes I go on cross-sex hormones and sometimes I am not on cross-sex hormones. I've never detransitioned because I have always identified as trans through that whole process, right? So I'm specifically talking about people who, you know, think that they're trans or non-binary. They go through some kind of transition and then they decide that they're going to go back to identifying as cisgender and go on and on and on about, you know, their experience. I mean, not, you know, so some detrans people just go back to identifying as cis and they're fine and they're normal. Okay, those people are great. Today we're going to be talking about one of the ones who weaponizes their regret in order to attack not only trans people, but like the medical professionals who are providing this care. So we're going to look at a couple of things today. The first thing we're looking at is an article written by the detrans person. And it's possible that I've seen this person at one of those various town halls all over the place. Like, this might be one of the 3 detransitioners who gets flown across the country constantly. Camille Kiefel, I think is the name. I am not totally sure. We will find out. Or maybe we won't. I don't really care that much about pronouncing transphobic people's names correctly. So this person talks about being diagnosed with ADHD at 6 years old, which is that normal? Like, so this person is 32 years old right now. 32 years old in the year 2024. I really want you to keep that in mind. Okay. So first of all, like, I don't really know how the process went with, being diagnosed with ADHD at a very young age. It seems like 30 years ago, the standards were a little bit different. I don't know. Anyway, so this person says that she found out that her best friend was sexually assaulted by an older brother, and that's when things started to change for me. I started to present more masculine after that by wearing boys' clothes and identifying with male anime characters. I was trying to hide my body, my breasts in particular. This was in 6th grade, so this would have been like age 12, maybe 11, 12. Trying to hide my body by wearing baggy clothing. It wasn't until I got to college that I heard about the idea of being non-binary. It appealed to me because although I didn't want to be a man, I was having issues with being a woman. This in-between state allowed me to be who I thought I was. It felt safer to me, but I still felt like a bit of a failure when it came to my femininity. Interesting. And I mean, like, yeah, that kind of is one of the feelings of being non-binary, is like, I don't fit in with women, or I don't like being a woman, but I also don't perceive myself as transitioning fully into a man, you know? And I think it's totally okay. It's totally okay to be in like an in-between place, right? And identifying as non-binary also doesn't necessitate that you change your body in any way. I mean, identifying as binary trans also doesn't necessitate that you change your body in any way. But I think in particular, as a non-binary person, there isn't a clear from point A to point B, there's a lot less expectation on you. You know, if you identify as a man, there is a very heavy expectation that you're going to get a double mastectomy and you're going to get chest masculinization done. You know, like there's much more of an expectation there. This person had a supportive family. The family were supportive, and they did not give any pushback during the process of the surgery. This person says, I had been uncomfortable with my breasts for a long time, so I asked my doctor about doing top surgery. So I just, like, that's something that I want to call attention to. This person sought this surgery out, right? It's not like the therapist recommended it. It's not like anybody pushed her, I guess, into it. Strictly, she asked for it. She had done 20 years of traditional talk therapy, 2 rounds of transcranial magnetic stimulation therapy, and I didn't respond well to medications. Yeah, I mean, this does sound to me like maybe trauma-focused therapy could have been helpful. Because like 20 years of traditional talk therapy, 2 rounds of transcranial, basically like that's like electrostimulation therapy, more or less. Not in the conversion therapy torture kind of way, but in the like, for people who have seizures and stuff, they get like direct cranial stimulation and not responding well to medications. It's entirely possible that this person should have done a trauma-focused therapy instead of traditional talk therapy, which just, you know, doesn't necessarily help with those specific issues. Ask me how I know. I've been doing traditional talk therapy for like a year and a half, and I'm about to have to restart targeted trauma therapy because I have PTSD from my IUD insertion. So turns out just talking about your issues with your therapist doesn't help as much as doing like highly evidence-based targeted trauma therapy. So, you know, maybe this person should have looked into that. And like, you know, if like you can develop trauma from something bad happening to someone you love or someone you care about or someone you know, right? I think that there is a misconception that trauma has to come from something that happened to you specifically. But if you know someone whose house was destroyed during a tornado and you were worried that they may have died, that can give you PTSD, you know? So if you know, okay, my friend was sexually assaulted by a close family member, you know, that can affect you as well. So I would say maybe during that 20 years of talk therapy, some of the doctors you were seeing, some of the therapists you were seeing maybe should have suggested to you that, hey, look, let's say it's just been 10 years. If you've been doing regular talk therapy for 10 years and you don't get better, honestly, it's a little bit annoying to me that this person is suing the doctors who gave them gender-affirming care rather than considering that the 20 years of talk therapy was the malpractice. Like, 20 years of talk therapy where you're not making any progress, the fact that nobody ever referred you to more targeted therapy, that's the malpractice. It's like when I was having, I had a doctor who was throwing drugs at me for 7 years, including stuff that you really don't want to be on, because I was just like, I'm willing to try anything. The fact that like 5 years into that process, she didn't say, I will no longer give you medication, you need to start therapy, that's malpractice. I didn't sue her or anything, but like I think that she mismanaged my care, or they did refer her to it and she declined to do it. Always a possibility. Yeah, that's a possibility for sure. So she says she was struggling, not able to work, and I needed something, but nobody was able to help me. I thought I was non-binary since 2016 at this point. I had surgery in 2020. Okay, so again, currently, this woman is 32 years old. In 2016, she was 24, and she believed that she was non-binary from the age of 24. She did not have top surgery until 4 years later when she was 28 years old. And like, honestly, like, you know, top surgery in like that sense of like, oh, you're getting a mastectomy, that's considered like gender affirming care. Yes. But also other types of surgery that are similar to that are done for cosmetic reasons, and it's just an informed consent process. And informed consent is someone tells you that there is a certain chance of you dying under anesthesia, and your recovery is going to look like this, and your breasts don't grow back. Like, you know, there's an informed consent process. Anybody who's getting a breast augmentation, well, any cis person who's getting a breast augmentation, all they need is a doctor to say, okay, I had the conversation, she understands the risks, and we're doing the surgery, right? As long as she can afford it, presumably. And I really always think that it's so interesting when folks think that something like a breast reduction for a trans person or a breast removal for a trans person, like, why does that require anything? Like, why do you think that those people need a psychiatric evaluation, but a cisgender woman who wants the biggest breasts available to her, like, doesn't need psychiatric evaluation? That's the thing that I take issue with pretty frequently with this. So, and yeah, like, I will also say that for trans people who are trans, it doesn't matter how much talk therapy you get. It doesn't matter what crazy, like, transcranial magnetic stimulation you get or how many medications you're on. There are plenty of trans people for whom a procedure or hormone therapy is that, like, the fact that they didn't have that was the problem the whole time, you know? I will say that, like, yeah, there are some folks who, like, they really lack confidence because they have breasts and they're like, this is not matching with my internal sense of who I am, and every time I go out, people treat me differently because of my breasts, and then, like, their social confidence increases dramatically after they get the procedure, you know? So it's not like I don't think that there's anything necessarily to be read further into, I did all these treatments and I thought that top surgery was maybe the answer. Because for some people, it is the answer after they try a bunch of different treatments, you know? That's totally normal. I thought that removing my breasts or reducing the size of them would help me. I talked to my doctor about it, and he connected me with somebody through their medical system. That person connected me with 2 mental health professionals, one of whom saw me for 50 minutes and the other for 40. Okay, yeah, like, you told 3 health professionals that you wanted this surgery, and you explained your reasons, saying that I told them about my friend being sexually assaulted. Oh, blah, blah, blah. You can't question trauma for being a reason why someone thinks they're trans. That's not an illegitimate reason. There are probably cisgender women out there who have gotten a breast reduction or a breast removal because of their trauma. That's not, like, an illegitimate reason. That's a perfectly legitimate reason to want your body to be changed. Although, again, trauma therapy is an available option. If this woman, she herself thought that her trauma might be, because, like, why would she tell them about her friend being sexually assaulted as a child if she didn't want to have that be part of the process? Like, she didn't want them to note that. So if you know that you have trauma, why are you not trying targeted trauma therapy? You could do prolonged exposure therapy. You could do EMDR. Like, and those are just the 2 that I'm more intimately familiar with. There are other forms of targeted trauma therapy. There is something to say for adults making their own decisions, you know? Like, if you're 28, so you're almost 30 years old, do you expect a doctor to go, but are you sure, honey? Oh, are you sure? Now, so they're, you know, maybe you need to do another 5 years of talk therapy before we give you this procedure. Do you know what I mean? Like, how, like, do you want to be infantilized in that way? Do you want to be talked down to by a cisgender medical professional? Because the overwhelming majority of the time, it is a cis person who you're appealing to. And a cis person doesn't know anything about being trans, so they can't say, well, that sounds like you're not really trans, like, or that doesn't sound like an experience of a trans person. Like, you know, do we want that? Do we want people with no training specific to the issue and no personal experience telling adults what they can and can't do with their own bodies? That's the question, because that's what this leads to. It leads to cis people with no specific training and no personal experience making these decisions on behalf of the adult instead of saying you are informed about the potential risks. Are there even any faulty studies linking trauma to a false trans identity in this way, or is this just a hand-wavy appeal that's meant to sound like a reasonable alternative? I'm not sure that there is any particular... Like, I haven't looked into whether there are any studies on the subject of trauma as it relates to trans people. Like, how many detrans people claim that this happened because of trauma? Some of the most famous instances I can think of do not include any trauma. Like, Chloe Cole, is that her name? She doesn't invoke trauma as the reason why she thought she was trans. So even, you know, some of the most famous examples don't invoke that. Nobody showed me any research on the implications of doing the surgery. What do you mean implications? Are you asking, do you think that they should have showed you research on the regret rate? Because the regret rate is like less than 2% on these surgeries. Even people who have serious complications don't generally regret doing the surgery. And the weird thing, too, about being non-binary is what do you even transition to? There's no non-binary sex to transition to. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I am a non-binary person, and that is a thing that I have struggled with in the past, is just feeling like there is no clear end goal. And honestly, that's a little bit freeing because there is no pressure. There was some pressure to me at a certain point because I identified with transmasculine people. And so I was seeing a lot of transmasculine people that I know getting top surgery. And it did feel at a certain point like, are people going to acknowledge my gender and validate me if they know that I have breasts and that I don't want them removed, you know? And even now, you see the camera angle, you see this baggy hoodie, like, I don't show off my breasts for the most part in these situations where I'm talking specifically about being trans. Because, I mean, yeah, I think that people undermine the legitimacy of non-binary identities when you don't want to surgically alter your body in that way. I do want to surgically alter my body, just not in that way. But yeah, but, you know, there's a kind of freedom in there not being a roadmap, because it's not, I don't feel this like, oh yeah, I need to tick this box and then this box. I'm like, look, I took hormones and it changed my body in certain ways. And I'm very happy with that. And I'm not the kind of person who feels like I need to be on hormones for the rest of my life. And I am not the kind, I don't feel like I need to do any particular surgical procedures, like, because I'm just being me. I'm going to get the procedures that I want, hopefully, and not be concerned with the fact that I'm trying to embody what being a non-binary person really means. And I think that for trans people who are binary, there's this feeling like, oh no, I'm never going to be a real man or woman because a man or a woman is a very specific set of ideas, right? I don't know why people don't see that as more freeing of being non-binary, you know? Both doctors and the surgeon approved of the non-binary top surgery. I don't think the surgeon had ever done a non-binary top surgery before doing it on me. Was your procedure different from a normal mastectomy? Like non-binary top surgery, I don't know what that means exactly in this context. Sometimes it means like you don't have a chest masculinization in the sense that maybe they'll put your nipples in a place that it's not supposed to look like a cis man's chest. I don't know. Anyway, she says, I felt like I was trying to escape something at the time. I was really struggling. Okay, well then, like again, there were more answers than just this. You are an adult. You have the ability to look into trauma therapy, and the regret rate of this procedure is very low. So, like, why would it have even helped if anybody told you, like, are you sure? Maybe you'll regret it. Do you think you would have changed your mind? Right after the surgery, I developed a lot of health issues. I wasn't sleeping through the night. Yeah, going under general anesthesia can do that to you. I started bruising easily. I had constant skin discolorations and heat rashes. I am not sure what that is about, but you got this procedure in 2020, so you could have gotten COVID, and COVID can cause some weird shit like that. When I spoke to my doctors about this, they put me on sertraline, and I ended up developing a rash because I was allergic to it. The doctors didn't know what to do, so I was advised to keep taking it. It was horrible. I don't know what sertraline is. At that point, I feel like I needed to figure out how to get better. Since the Western conventional model wasn't helping me, I saw a naturopath. I started eating meat again. I saw practitioners who did body work and hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Fascinating. Those procedures really stabilized me. That's what I needed and not surgery. I felt a lot better because I came to terms with my trauma. I realized that believing I was non-binary was a coping mechanism for me. Okay, again, valid but vanishingly uncommon. When you believe you're something you're not, you really hold on to that. Yeah, again, if anybody had told you that maybe you weren't non-binary, would you have believed it, or would you have just stopped seeing that doctor? Oh my God. In order to transition back to my original sex, I started dressing a little bit differently. It's a difficult situation for me because I can never get my breasts back, which has been hard. So I know somebody who got cancer at the age of 26, breast cancer. They have the BRCA2 gene. So they had breast cancer and they had their breasts completely removed and they were flat, right? And then they had a second procedure done to get silicone implants. So yes, you can. Sertraline is an antidepressant. Okay. So if it's possible for people who've had a mastectomy for cancer, which removes more tissue than a masculinizing mastectomy, because you're trying to remove all the potentially cancerous tissue, right? If a person who's had cancer and a mastectomy for that can have reconstructive surgery and have silicone implants put in, why can't you? It's not impossible, actually. And this thing, it's like really upsetting to me that like it's routine. It is routine. It's covered by insurance for a cisgender woman to have reconstructive silicone implant surgery after her breast removal. And like this dopey ass person is so fundamentally unaware and is so trauma brained and is like so doomer about this whole process. Like, I can never get my breasts back. I don't think I can ever fit in a dress the same way again. Like, okay, yeah, it won't be the same, probably. It's not going to be your same breasts that you were born with or that you developed in puberty, but you will definitely, you can get silicone implants and dress in a dress and look normal. I don't want to show pictures of my friend on the stream because this has nothing to fucking do with them, but my friend makes their own dresses now. They fit beautifully. If I didn't know that they had had a mastectomy and then reconstructive surgery, I probably wouldn't be able to tell. You know? Like, so I just think that this is fucking annoying. I don't hear people talking about the process of detransitioning too much, but I know that you do know that you can get implants. But for some reason, that's incompatible with the idea of fitting in a dress the same way again. Oh my God. It has impacted my dating pool. Sure, I'm sure it does. I'm speaking out about this because I'll have to live with my body being mutilated for the rest of my life, and I don't want this to happen to others. You are 28 years old. You made an informed decision. I don't know what you expected. I don't know what you wanted. You had been going to therapy for 20 years. What did you expect? How many more doctors do you think people should see? I want doctors to know that they need to look for underlying health issues and realize that there's no non-binary biological sex to transition to. So this person, I think, has now come full swing out the other direction into, I don't think being non-binary is real. Like, what? I'm sorry. Like, I know several people who were born with a vulva and who now have a vulva and a penis. Yes, there is a way to transition to being biologically non-binary, actually. I know somebody who wants to have a mastectomy for one breast and keep the other. Yes, it is possible to transition into a non-binary biological sex. I hate these people so much. So this woman is suing her doctors, and that's the reason that we're really talking about this today, is that she is an adult. Plaintiff experienced severe childhood traumatic events leading to her feeling discomfort and dissociation with her body, diagnosed with ADHD, CPTSD, major depressive disorder, and generalized anxiety disorder. These mental health conditions proved treatment resistant despite nearly 2 decades of psychotherapy and prescribed medications for these issues. Plaintiff had to stop medications because of serious side effects. Plaintiff also suffers from PCOS. Okay, so you're intersex. Okay. This person also had regular episodes of suicidal ideation. Plaintiff began to identify as a non-binary gender identity and described to therapists a feeling of distress or dysphoria regarding her breasts. Again, like, what? Like, I don't know what you expected to happen. Feeling as though she had tried everything to help her mental health issues, plaintiff came to believe that breast reduction or removal would finally solve her mental health problems. Like, I will say that you probably shouldn't look at transition as a way to solve your mental health problems. They can alleviate it, or they can help take, like, the weight off. But, like, typically you're dealing with more than one thing, right? So yeah, maybe specifically trauma therapy would be good. Yeah, the idea that you cannot be biologically in the middle. I have to be very careful talking about this because I also think, for example, like, I took testosterone, I made my voice deeper, and, like, my genitals changed, and I think that that on its own has made me non-binary in a sex sense. Like, I am biologically non-binary. But there are plenty of trans men out there who have only been on testosterone and have not had surgery yet. And I don't want to point at their bodies and say, look, they are biologically non-binary, because I just think that that is rude. I'm only speaking about my experience and my body, right? Yeah, doesn't believe in non-binary genders, is literally intersex. Yeah, for y'all who don't know, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is PCOS, is broadly considered to be a disorder of sex development, which means an intersex condition. It's a hormonal condition where you have more testosterone in your body than most cisgender women. And it can cause fertility issues. It causes people to grow facial hair. Like, it's an intersex condition. So if you have PCOS, you are intersex. Like, you can still identify as a woman, that's fine. You can be an intersex woman. But, like, yeah, the idea that you cannot be, quote, biologically non-binary is just really silly. Okay, how long was this process, I wonder? So in 2020, early in the year, she said that she wanted to pursue top surgery. In May, she got a referral from one doctor in May. She got a referral from another doctor in July. She got a referral from another doctor also in July. So not only did she identify as non-binary for 4 years, but she spent several months seeing multiple different doctors, telling them all that she wanted this procedure. Like, again, this is another thing that we've talked about before. We had a segment a while ago about a woman who defrauded her insurance company by claiming to be trans and like having them prescribe to her testosterone, and she filled that prescription, by the way. She defrauded her insurance company by lying. Like, what do you expect if you tell multiple doctors that you want this procedure and you've already been seeing a therapist for a long time? Do you, like, I think that the end goal of this is to make this care like no longer an option, completely off the table. I think that they're basically like, I don't know what additional gatekeeping you could possibly expect. Like, do you want all 3 of these doctors to give you like 6 months of therapy? Yeah, terrible doctors, exactly. How dare they listen to their patients and respect their feelings? A cisgender woman can go to the doctor and say, I don't like how heavy my periods are, and then with no other hormone testing or anything, she can be given estrogen therapy, right? A woman with PCOS who wants estrogen can just get it. But we expect, and like also, again, a cis woman who like has back pain and wants a breast reduction does not need psychological assessment to do that. A cis man who has gynecomastia does not need a psychiatric assessment in order to get a complete flattening procedure done, right? Oh, I'm sorry. This is just so dumb. The plaintiff's dysphoria about her body centered on her breasts and hips, for which no, quote, gender affirmation surgery is possible. I'm sorry. Yes, there is. It's like the opposite of a Brazilian butt lift. They take fat from your thighs and ass and insert it into the trunk area. You know, typically, like, females, like, broadly speaking, have this like hourglass thing that happens where it's like they have their rib cage and then their waist goes in a little bit and then their hips come out. There is a masculinizing procedure. I'm sorry, this is just so fucking dumb. There's a masculinizing procedure that takes fat from your ass and thighs, because like the other thing that people get dysphoric about is the fact that like their hips are so big and their ass and their thighs are so big. You can take it out and you put it into this area that normally is coming in like this, and it makes your entire figure more like square. Just don't say untrue stuff in your lawsuit. Oh my God. But a lawyer wrote this and the lawyer doesn't know. Oh my goodness. So yeah, basically this person like learned what to say in order to get the procedures done, and either genuinely believed that the procedure would help or lied to get the procedures done, repeated this story to multiple medical professionals who, again, like, what do you expect them to do? Do you expect them to go, yeah, but are you really? Yeah, but are you lying though? Like, that's not how this works. That's just not how any of this should work. Surgical body modification is highly experimental for non-binary people. No, it's not. The plaintiff has mental harms, including distress and anguish regarding her lifelong inability ever to choose to breastfeed a child. Bro, guess what? There are plenty of cisgender women who have breasts who can't breastfeed because it just doesn't work for everybody. And you know what the solution to that is? Getting a supplemental feeding system. There's this thing that you can get that's called a supplemental feeding system where you can breastfeed. You basically you like tape this tube to your body. And this is like for women who don't lactate enough or women who can't lactate at all. It's, like, again, like just do some bare fucking research. This is the thing that I always say about detrans people. You would be so much better off if you just stayed friends with trans people because we have all the answers. If you think, oh, I transitioned too far, I'll never look like a blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, I lost all my hair, or, oh, I'll never be able to do this. Like, just talk to trans people. We will tell you how to regrow your hair. We will tell you how to breastfeed a baby. Like, oh my God. You are alienating the only group of people, apparently, who have the answers to help you realize the goals that you have in your life. Like, you have this goal to breastfeed a child. Well, guess what? I have the answer. Fear and anxiety over finding a life partner sexually and romantically attracted to a woman without breasts. Okay, fair enough. Mistrust in mental health professionals. Well, you were seeing a therapist for 20 years who didn't help you either. Daily life anxieties, such as no longer being able to fit well into dresses, and like get reconstructive surgery or just wear, like, what are they called? The chicken cutlet things, the like silicone implants. You can still function. Like, life is not over for you. But this is a person who is deeply mentally unwell. And I want to say that too. Like, this person is deeply mentally unwell and has been for a long time. And it was a similar thing with that one balding detrans person that we talked about a while back, Casey Miller. These people are deeply mentally unwell. And gender transition was not going to help them anyway. And now they can conveniently point to the gender transition that they now regret as like the source of all their problems. But like Casey Miller also was purchased as a baby, not adopted properly through proper channels, but purchased as a baby. So they also are against adoption, even when it is done through the appropriate channels, because they were trafficked. Like, because they were trafficked illegally, they're against legal adoption. Okay, these people are not mentally well. Like, and I don't mean all detrans people, to be clear. I mean these specific instances that we are discussing. This woman, they sell pocketed bras that you can put the chicken cutlets in, the silicone breast forms. Yeah, thank you for going along with my little joke there. Like these particular people who are like, I had issues for years and years and years and years and years and nothing was working. And I decided maybe being trans was the thing that was actually wrong with me. Like nothing but very targeted specific treatment was going to help you in the first place. But like, I don't know how you can call this malpractice if they're following the procedures, they did as much due diligence as was possible. You have presumably been seeking mental health care for most of your life. Like, I don't see what the goal of this is other than basically trying to make this impossible for anyone to access anymore. One of the things mentioned here is that the doctors allegedly violated a code stating that counselors take special care to provide proper diagnosis of mental disorders. using assessment techniques, including personal interviews to determine client care. And oh, they misdiagnosed plaintiff with gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder. Again, we can't do brain scans on people to determine whether they're really trans. We do this by asking them questions. And if you lie and state that you have all of the things under the diagnosis of gender dysphoria, that is your fault. Or if you mistakenly believe that you have those issues, like, that is still your fault. That is not the doctor's fault. The doctor could not possibly have done any more due diligence with you. Yeah, I know. I'm talking about this as though there is a good reason for it, other than like these public detransitioners are trying to get paid. You know, like, what other reason could you have? Like, well, you're trying to sue the doctors and have them pay you. And I guess it's worth mentioning again that this person has not been able to hold down a job and is on disability. So getting a payout in this way would probably be great for her. Like, yeah, if she's unable to work, then making a career out of lying about her doctors probably is a great way for her to make sure that she's going to have a future and like be able to pay her rent and make money. I'm trying to figure out if there is anything that they want. Okay, so the plaintiff sustained physical, emotional, mental, and psychological injury that caused and will continue to cause serious pain, anguish, distress, discomfort, physical impairment, inconvenience, and interference with normal and usual activities, and ability of plaintiff to perform major life activities. Girl, you couldn't perform major life activities before this procedure. All to the plaintiff's general damage in an amount to be decided by a jury and not to exceed $500,000. As a further reasonably foreseeable result of the defendant's professional malpractice, plaintiff has incurred and will continue in the future to need to incur necessary costs for medical, psychological, and therapeutic treatment in a reasonable amount to be decided by a jury and not to exceed $250,000. Plaintiff has suffered wage loss in an amount not to exceed $100,000. Girl, again, you are disabled. You did not have a job. What are you talking about? Lost wages. What do you mean? Yeah, this is they just want to pay out. They really just want to pay out. Transitioning interfered with my awesome life, says a person who was in therapy for 20 years. Yeah. Additionally, feelings of betrayal by mental health professionals, humiliation, distress, and anxiety over having lost her breasts, permanently scarred and disfigured, permanently losing her choice to ever breastfeed a child, being unable to fit properly in dresses and clothing designed for women's bodies, all to plaintiff's non-economic damages in amounts to be decided by a jury not to exceed $500,000. Plaintiff suffered and still suffers injury and harm directly related to this, including physical, emotional, psychological stress, all to plaintiff's non-economic damages in amounts to be decided by a jury not to exceed $500,000. So yeah, basically she's trying to get like a couple $1,000,000 payout. Like at minimum, like there was like the economic damages and non-economic damages. I think that she's trying to get like $1,000,000 payout for this. I don't think that she's pursuing like a any kind of, oh, this person shouldn't be able to practice medicine again. But if you sue a doctor and they're liable for like $500,000, that could easily put them in a situation where they can't practice. Like, or that they could lose their house or something. Like, you know, the whole process of taking people's money. So yeah, an adult human female who made informed decisions about her own health and who told the doctors that she wanted this procedure repeatedly over the course of at least several months. Is there an additional burden of proof for seeking anything above $500,000? I think that it's like limited in the law that if you are trying to sue someone for certain damages, you can only sue them for a certain amount of money. It depends on where. Where is this? Is this in California? No, this is in Oregon. Right. So this is being filed in Oregon. The total amount, I guess the total amount that she's asking for is $850,000. Yeah, again, why is your issue not with the fact that you were in therapy for 20 years and that apparently like didn't help you? Why are you not upset with those therapists? You're upset with the therapists who you specifically asked to give you a letter of recommendation for surgery. I think that honestly, part of this, and the fact that so many of these Detrans stories focus on young women, I mean, she's not even a young woman, she's fucking 32 years old. So many of these stories focus on women because there is this infantilization aspect. There is this aspect of, oh, well, you know, she couldn't have known better. And oh, look at the harm that the doctors did to her. She's such a victim. So ultimately, this particular aspect of the Detrans narrative is just straight up misogynistic. I mean, girl, you're trying to get a payout on misogyny. Let's be honest here, therapy requires an amount of personal accountability that doesn't sound like she has. I mean, that's true enough too. Traditional talk therapy, does that mean that you weren't doing evidence-based therapy? Was the therapist telling you you need to do certain homework? You need to do certain things outside of the therapeutic session? Is there an expectation that you need to, like, do anything? It seems like this person is a perpetual victim. Like, she refused to work for years. She did not figure her shit out. She was on disability for mental anguish problems. Like, people with ADHD do have, like, okay, I have ADHD and possibly PCOS, and I've been diagnosed with ADHD, and, or sorry, I said it twice. That's ADHD for you. So yes, I have been independently diagnosed with ADHD 3 separate times. I'm probably autistic, but I have not been officially diagnosed. I have PCOS. I have PTSD and complex PTSD, which has been resolved. I've been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and here I am. Do you see me? Here I am, working for myself. In fact, it is hard to get a job and sustain a job, and I tried. Oh, and I also have physical disabilities, so I actually have more going on than this woman does, because I also have POTS and a mixed connective tissue disorder. So I actually have more going on than this girl. And again, yes, working for someone else is physically difficult for me because I overheat and my heart rate gets all off the charts and everything. But yeah, I mean, like, what have you been doing? I'm 30, she's 32. Like, what have you been doing this entire time? Or listen, this was actually filed in 2022, And it says plaintiff is a 32-year-old woman. She's 34. Earlier this year, an article was posted saying that she was 33. So she was actually closer to the age of 30 when she had this procedure done. So she was my age when she had her top surgery done. Again, what do you expect to happen here? What additional gatekeeping do you want? Like, the number of detransitioners is like fewer than 2% of the 2% of the population who are trans. So why are you going to listen to the 2% who regret their shit versus the 98% who wish that there were fewer barriers? This is the thing. Trans people are never consulted when we're setting these standards. I guess the president of the WPATH is a trans woman, but like overwhelmingly, most trans people never get a say. Most of the doctors involved, the therapists, the surgeons, the insurance companies, most of those people who are deciding whether trans people get care, not trans. They're cisgender. Imagine if you actually prioritized the group who is most affected by these issues. But yeah, Camille, she just wants money. Camille wants a payout. Camille is not interested in helping other trans people or other detrans people. She posted in this little article, oh, I also do a bunch of advocacy, trying to help other detransitioners. We started this group called Detrans Help. And like, yeah, probably a lot of detrans people don't want to work with you because most detrans people are not transphobic. They're not suing their doctors for the informed decisions that they made at the age of 30. The age of 30. I can't imagine getting a procedure now and being like, the doctors shouldn't have let me get this procedure. I did get an IUD placed, and she deliberately did not tell me what the details of the procedure were. And I think that's a totally different thing. And like, I was awake and fully present for having my internal organs yanked around by a claw. That's, I think, a different situation. And if I had been informed about what the procedure entailed, I would not have gotten it. But with top surgery, it's like, okay, we're going to put you under general anesthesia and we're going to, they make the markings on you while you're still awake. They're like, okay, we're going to cut here and then we're going to move this skin here and we're going to do the nipple grafts. And okay, all that happens while you're awake. So it's as informed as it can possibly be. And if only 2% of people regret it, why would they tell you, well, maybe you might regret it? Like, girl, excuse me. Yeah, the Detrans subreddit is full of TERFs. So much so that, like, actual Detrans people who just need support, they had to create a totally different subreddit, and they speak privately about their issues, and they speak about it in secret because TERFs and other transphobes will take these stories and blow them up and say, look, point at this girl or point at this guy and say, look, they weren't informed or whatever, like they regret it. Look at this. Most of these people don't want their stories to be weaponized in this way. It's such a bummer too, because these people even restrict access ultimately to trans people. Like, if you know that if you post a picture of your healing genitals to a trans space, that there is a good chance that some TERF will steal your images and revenge porn post them on their public Twitter. And those are your genitals. Like, it's revenge porn. It's a crime in most places. And to know that, like, they're going to talk about your body in that way, you know, if I ever got bottom surgery, that is a big thing that would prevent me from ever posting any details or any photos. Like, sure, let me start charging $100 per month on Fansly, and then you can see. It reminds me of people who don't like their nose jobs and then go online saying all cosmetic surgery should be banned. I think most people who... Okay, so I'm pretty sure it's like a majority of people who get nose jobs end up regretting it later. And most of those people don't go on and say no one should ever get a nose job. Oh my god. Okay. I've been talking about this for forever. This is one of the longest segments I've done in a while, it feels like. And I don't know if there's anything else I can say. It's just... This person is clearly grifting. Like, you couldn't get a regular job. You were too emotionally fucked up to keep a regular job, apparently. And, like, you're clearly unable to work for yourself. This person, do you even have any monetizable hobbies? Why don't you pick up knitting? And then maybe you'll have, like, a source of income that isn't being a complete moron. Anyway, I'm not very nice to people like this. And I don't really think I need to be. I think if you are trying to advocate that there is no such thing as transitioning into a non-binary person biologically, like, yeah, you're taking a transphobic position. You're no longer speaking about your own regret. You're now speaking about other people and what other people should do and what is possible for other people. Like, you simply lack imagination. Talking about mutilation when it's a procedure that you asked multiple doctors for. Anyway, like and subscribe. Oh, geez. All right, let's stop that there. And I'll put this in my notes. Detransitioner in my notes. Detrans woman, 30 years old. There it is in my notes. We did have a couple other things we could have talked about today, but man, we're getting late in the show. It does just sound like she wants a paycheck in this case. Yeah, true. Ooh, yes, annoying Sparkling Wasps newsletters in the chat reminds everybody. And I should remind you in turn that tomorrow I will be on The Line for the Transatlantic Call-In Show at 2 p.m. Central Time with Josie Caraballo. And we had a great time last week. I was on with Josie last week, so it's a fun show where trans people and allies and transphobes are all welcome to call in, discuss any issues you want with us, get some spicy conversations with people who think that trans women shouldn't be in sports and dumb shit like that. It's gonna be a fun time. I'm really looking forward to it. And then I'm not sure when I'm going to be on in... oh my god, why? I am going to be on in July, probably a bunch, but we don't have an official schedule yet, I don't think. Do we not have a production schedule for... No, we're still working on the production schedule for July. So I'm not sure when all I'm going to be on, but I'm sure it's going to be a lot. So I will, of course, let you all know when I know that I'm going to be on. And I will also continue to ping in the Discord server. So if you ever, if you're ever interested in finding out when I'm going to be doing these things, or, you know, if you want to get the notifications and get the pings, join up in the Discord server. And we also have lots of fun conversations in the Discord server. Tomorrow, yeah, Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central Time is when we do The Line. Or the Line is the channel name. They have shows like every day of the week, but the Transatlantic Call-In Show is Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central Time. Yay! How many more likes can we get before the end of the show? Is there any chance that we could get to like 100? Maybe. Maybe. Get the producer to load last week's intro for a few minutes. Let's hope that the freaking call doesn't drop this time, because the call dropped at some point right in the middle of the show last time. Wasn't too bad, though. Ooh. Drink more water. I want to call in, but all my questions are really dumb. Yeah, the call screener might not let you in. Why are you soft banned? Soft banned in chat on RN Ra's channel and the line, so watching live stopped being fun. Why? What did you do? What have you done? It's actually 3 p.m. Eastern time. So 3 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. on the West Coast. I regret that I have only one like to give. I know. So sad. Can we maybe squeeze in one more segment before the end, do you think? I had 2 other things that I was considering talking about. We can do a little, dang, there's a couple of good segments still that I would love to squeeze in, but I don't know if we have time. Intergalactic, planetary, intergalactic. Why is my brain doing this to me today? It's the ADHD, so strong. Like, I could talk about these issues, but I also could save them till Sunday. Damn Girl just dropped a doozy in Spicy Links. Well, that's not the channel to put things in if you want me to see them. I really only peruse like 4 of the channels in the whole Discord. What's Spicy Links? Spicy. Supreme Court wipes out anti-corruption law that bars officials from taking gifts and payments. Oh, that's fun. Okay, I'll save the J.K. Rowling segment for Sunday. I keep putting my mouth on my crochet hook. Why am I doing that? It's stimming. I'm stimming and I can't stop. I suspect it was because I showed up with too many insert dapper inside joke names that people found gross or offensive. Yeah, I also think if you're referring to the hosts as dapper, they don't allow people to comment on the host's appearance. So if you're on, especially on the Transatlantic Call-In show, if you say like, "Wow, you look beautiful today," or "What's up with Luxander's hair?" like they just don't allow those comments. So maybe dapper was considered. Labor plus trans is a big topic. Oh, I mean, you can. I want to like talk about the fact that Labor wants to talk to J.K. Rowling about her concerns, and then I figured that would be a good opportunity to also talk about the fact that Keir Starmer wants to bring back Section 28. It can't be too big because it's like, you know, what's going to be the thing that people click on? Okay, people will click on a video about J.K. Rowling, right? Okay, I can see why you were bad. I can see why you were banned. That makes perfect sense to me. Oh my god. Sparkling Wasps in the YouTube chat says that they said things such as smegma is almost as good on bagels as a pap schmear. Like, yeah, no, I completely understand why you were soft banned from the chat. Ah. Okay, let me look at this. Oh my god, I'm not gonna be able to do this article in the next 30 minutes. There's no fucking way. I want to, but there's no fucking way. We will revisit all of this shit on Sunday. Gagged. This person made a mod cry. Oh no. It's like, yeah, maybe don't be a fucking weirdo. I mean, like, that's my advice to you, is don't be such a fucking weirdo. Sometimes you make jokes in private, you know? Like, that's a joke that I might make in my Twitter group chat, and everybody there would be like, ew, groan, and then I wouldn't get kicked out of the chat, you know? But they would be upset with me about it. I can't act up too much or Viren will punish me in game. Oh, I just lost the game. Oh, there's 50 people here, and I'm sorry to all of you. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just lost the game. I understand if you unsubscribe for that. Disappointing. So yeah, tomorrow we're gonna be on the line. And I will tag you. Oh, you play D&D together. DM powers are better than mod powers, it's true. I see, that makes more sense. My D&D group was supposed to meet last week, and we ended up not being able to because someone was going to a wedding. And then last night we were supposed to meet, but the DM got violently high, apparently. So we will maybe reconvene next week, or maybe we will only have one D&D session and the rest of the sessions are never going to happen. We'll see. Unforge. Oh, goodness gracious. So yeah, tomorrow we're on the line. I'm hoping we get some spicy calls. And then Friday I'm getting my tattoo finished. And then I don't know what I'm doing Saturday. And then Sunday we are streaming again. Violently high? Yeah, that's a term that people use when they're like, I am too high to do anything. They were like, I am just staring at my phone. I'm not even doing anything. I'm just staring at it. Like, okay, bud, you take the rest of the night off. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central. Yes, my loves. Brought to us by a Domino's and a political ad. Dude, I actually love Domino's. I think it's delicious. Like, genuinely. It's very yummy. The, like, whatever garlic butter sauce that they put on the crust is so good. And they actually have a really good, cracker crust. Like, the thin crust. If you go to Pizza Hut and you get a thin crust pizza, it's like, it's still really bready, you know? It's still really, like, chewy. But if you get a thin crust at Domino's, it's like, it's crunchy. He was violently high, and then cut to an ad for snack foods for when you're too tired to cook. Okay, that is funny. Okay. It's like the only place that seasons their crust. I'm saying, like, oh, it's so good. Like, I think it's just like a butter liquid that they squirt onto it. And it makes the box super greasy, but it's delicious. Yes, true, Eric. Domino's gets me hard AF. Somehow I've maintained a pretty tight ship. We've missed 1 week out of the past 2 months. We were doing every other week. So I guess technically if we do next week, then we will have only really missed 1 session. Pizza Hut's is the standard. Domino's is better. Listen, the cracker crust, the like crunchy, that's so good. Yes, absolute food boner. This is one of those times where I understand the asexuals. You know, when they're like, but garlic bread though. And I'm like, yeah, I could absolutely fuck some garlic bread. It would be really warm in there. Gooey. I feel like the garlic itself would probably sting a little bit. But I would definitely do it. Pizza Hut does it too. I remember when Pizza Hut used to have options for different crust stuff to do. Like you could choose the different. Pizza Hut has the best breadsticks though. Domino's doesn't even have breadsticks. They just have like the little bread twisties. Like the cinnamon sticks or whatever. Man. Delicious. I'm not even hungry. I ate like an entire pot of mac and cheese before the show, so I'm not even hungry right now. This is entirely to torture you, okay? It's for you. It's all for you. Fresh made garlic bread, but instead of butter, it's olive oil that the garlic was roasted in, and Parmesan cheese. Listen. Yummy. Little Caesar's cheesy breadsticks. I do enjoy when the cheese is inside the bread. Like, I don't know why does the cheese in a stuffed crust pizza suck so much? You know, like like when you get a Pizza Hut stuffed crust pizza, why is the cheese inside the bread so different and bad compared to the cheese that's on the surface of the pizza? It's not good. It's a good texture, but it just tastes awful. I just don't understand. I get fucked up on a dessert pizza too. Have any of y'all ever had one of those like cinnamon pizzas? Oh my god, they're so good. Ooh. I have carb loaded so hard today. I need to go running tomorrow. Or like do the bike tomorrow. It's pre-made frozen. Okay, that makes sense. I miss working at Wendy's when they had a salad bar. I'm kind of glad that salad bars are less common now because they're kind of disgusting. Sounds like a churro, but it's a pizza. Oh my god, dude. One of the things that I miss so much about living in like, one of the things I miss so much about being in public school is that churros were a thing. Because like, you know, Kansas City, if you're unfamiliar, like Kansas City has a ton of Black folks and like Puerto Rican people and like other Spanish speaking folks, and also like weirdly a lot of Asian people. But so when I was in public school, they served foods that catered to those specific groups sometimes. So I would get churros regularly with lunch, and oh man, I'm like, where the fuck do I get a churro now? Where do I go? Where do I get a churro? It's not like a thing that they just casually have at Mexican restaurants for the most part, I don't think. And also, I don't want to eat at a restaurant because COVID is still everywhere. This is why we save the food talk for the end of the stream. Yeah, I'll get you all super riled up and hungry, and then I'll send you on your way to go do whatever you want to do. Do I have to make my own churros? Is that what needs to occur here? It would be so hard. That sounds like it would be really difficult. I miss churros, though. I think that they would have, like, it was like apple cinnamon most of the time. Apple cinnamon was the one that they would serve in public schools. Excuse me. How to make churros. Oh, man. I want to make churros. I want to eat them. Maybe you should look for food sponsors for the channel. True. Ooh, do you think that there's any, like, pre-made frozen churros that I could just buy at the grocery store? I would definitely do that. Can you buy frozen churros? They have them at Walmart. Maybe it would be easier to make a cinnamon pizza, but they have them at Walmart. That would be so good. On the Mexican food front, elotes, Mexican street corn. I'm familiar with the concept of elotes. I actually did eat at a Mexican food truck not too long ago. We got some tacos. Oh, they were really yummy. I did not get enough food. I should have gotten more food. But it's also fucking expensive getting food from a food truck, it turns out. Making churros is hard, but worth it. I can get frozen churros. And then I could just heat them up in the oven. Oh my god. I want to do that. I gotta remember to look at the grocery store. Fucking true, Oxpecker. Find a corner store with the most drug dealers on it, and then find the nearest Mexican restaurant. That restaurant is always going to be authentic AF. Yeah, I've never had street corn. I definitely should, though. I do love the idea of living in a place where food trucks are more common. Although in Kansas City, they're getting more and more common, I think. One of my friends makes elotes corn dip. You know what I would love to try someday? I would love to try huitlacoche. Is that what it's called? The fungus, the corn fungus that they specifically do agriculture with the purpose of producing this fungus. Huitlacoche, I want to say. Because it's apparently fucking amazing. They call it Mexican truffle, colloquially. That sounds so good. Food trucks are common enough in specific locations in Chicago. Yeah. Yeah. There were some food trucks at Pride. I found El Paso churro cornbread. Delicious. Kansas City, Kansas, or Missouri. Does it really matter? Like, it's all kind of one big thing. They're not really that culturally different to one another. I try to avoid going to Missouri. Although I definitely still do go to Missouri. Blech. I just prefer not to. Yes. I can hypothetically get frozen churros. Goya brand churros. Yeah, that sounds so good. Okay, I'm gonna leave you all with dreams of churros. Dreams. Don't let your dreams be dreams, okay? Whoa. Food trucks get run off a lot in Dallas? What? Why, by whom? Do business owners around the area not like it? Do the cops make them go away? That's cray-cray. Goya is authentic. Ooh, okay. So get Goya brand frozen churros if I can. Someone said Goya is authentic, and the next person said Goya is not a good brand. Hate begets hate, and carbs beget carbs. It's true. Okay. I'm going to leave you with dreams of churros. I will see you all on Sunday. I will have new body modification by then. Oh, actually, I will see you tomorrow if you want to hang out for the Line Transatlantic Call-In Show. I'll be seeing you at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, my dears. Goodbye, hoardies. Have a good night. Be good, or at least don't get caught.